Blynd Submyshynz, where DIY bands submit songs for us to listen and react to blind. Every week, we'll bring a guest from the underground music, arts, or entertainment scene to help you sort through mountains of new music. We go in blind, so you don't have to. Blynd Submyshynz.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's episode. That was dumb. Hey, welcome to today's episode of Blynd Submyshynz.
I like it.
Now, if we could actually sing or harmonize, we could do something impressive. No. Oh, so immediate sidetrack. We'll get the guest in immediately because I don't have much. You don't have much, and he's cool as hell.
Immediately after this
sidetrack, which was we celebrated some family birthdays this weekend. With the old fam. And we had to sing happy birthday, of course. And this side of the family is atrocious. I mean, I don't even know why we try. Honestly, It's a little bit kooky. But after we were done, my wife's sister said, "Oh man, that would never happen at the Van Wykes," which is her best friend's family. She's like, they literally do happy birthday in like 7-part harmonies.
Oh shit!
And if you're off, you'll get taken aside and told like maybe hey, you were a little flat. Maybe don't sing next time.
I have issues with the way the birthday song is usually sung.
Yeah,
people are just so unenthusiastic about it. I always like somehow the birthday song always turns into like a doom song.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. So I've started like taking the lead now because you gotta get that up. It's gotta be happy birthday to you.
Oh yeah, so you're that guy.
Like,
no, I'm the so far off key that it's cartoonish.
Yeah.
For comedic effect.
Yeah.
That asshole.
I don't try to sing it well. I mean, I'm not that guy. I'm not the singer birthday guy. I just need to, it needs to be like.
That's okay. You bring the NRG.
It needs to be 120 BPM, not 60.
Yeah, that's true. Happy birthday. And plus then you're over.
And then you're done over. Yeah, it's over sooner.
All right.
Exactly.
So who's our guest today? Like, subscribe, push here. There,
do it all.
Right there.
Right
Someday
there.
I'll make a video and there will be a button nowhere. No, but help us out here. Get on board.
We should have a button, actually. I had it installed.
We can talk about hot sauce later.
Anyways,
too.
We'll talk about hot sauce later, too. Ooh, we made some new hot sauce. Can't wait.
Ooh, so we've already played this guest's music on the podcast, but let's remind you. So who are we listening?
Yes. So.
Oh no, you're gonna have to play it, not me.
Oh yeah, it's me. I have to listen to it.
So
or play it. That's right.
So I'll give the backstory while you're
discombobulated
searching. So we listened to a band many moons ago, and we went, "Shit, man, that band sounds a lot like Torch." And it turns out we found out in another episode that band sounds a lot like Torch because it is Torch, essentially. Minus Steve Brooks. House of Lightning.
Yes.
Correct?
House of Lightning.
Yeah. So today we have from House of Lightning
Henry
Wilson. We'll find out
coincidence.
if he's related to me while we're at it.
Yeah, Wilson's not a very common name.
No, not at all. Son of Will, never heard of it.
Son of Will.
What a fucking unusual situation.
The patriarchy.
Yeah. That's why I like in Scandinavian where it's like Thor's daughter.
Yeah, Thor's daughter.
At least they acknowledge the daughter part. There's none of that. It's still what man are you attached to?
What man are you attached to?
Maybe it's worse because then we're gendering. I don't know. Whatever. Just pretend like I didn't say anything. All right. So play a little House of Lightning, and then we'll bring him in.
Okay.
I remember this. Is that him singing?
It is.
It sounds like his speaking voice.
He does guitar and sing on this one.
All right, let's start that fade, and I'll bring the man in. All right, welcome aboard, Henry. I'll stretch it out.
Here we go. He's coming.
How long does it take to join a Zoom? Wilson. There we go. We see him.
Greetings.
Now we hear
hello.
him. Well done, sir.
All systems firing. All
and
right.
we are live.
So question number
Fantastic.
one: Are we related? Since because we established a minute ago that Wilson is a very uncommon name, so I thought maybe there's
so
a good
uncommon.
chance.
Yeah, it's really it's highly likely we're related.
I know. Sure. After a deep dive into my ancestry, I wouldn't be surprised about much of anything. But I do not know of any family in Florida. Are you originally from? You're in Florida. Are you from
I'm in
Florida?
Yeah, my father's side, the Wilson namesake. God, a couple hundred years, I think. There's at least, there's at least according to my aunts and my dad. My
OG Floridians.
Wow.
Yeah. There's some distant relative family grave plot somewhere, probably about 30, 40 miles north of where I'm at now. That I was told the dates late 1700s or something of that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. As to the validity of it, I don't know. I know that. Well, I know my grandfather, my great grandparents, and on were all pretty well in this area within Florida. So
yeah, my dad's family's all Wisconsin, and we're like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, however you say it, and then California.
Yeah, yeah. We my dad's side are somewhat Seminole native, and so obviously loose family structures. So there's a lot of history there that I know little things and stuff like that. But,
yeah. And I don't know if
I don't have a definitive timeline or an answer. I knew my grandparents a little bit, but they were kind of gone when I was smaller.
Gotcha.
So.
I don't know if JD let you know that we have totally changed format and we are now a genealogy podcast. Yeah. So hopefully you brought your research materials.
Yeah. Well, my mother's side, her father was from Wales. He immigrated to the States via Canada sometime around the Spanish flu era. He was born in 1899. Yeah. And so he left Wales and went to Toronto and then ended up in Chicago and then Indiana and
and then
Florida.
Yeah. And how is Florida right now?
Yeah,
I've been to Florida in August, and it was miserable.
I love Florida actually, and I've traveled. I love Florida. I've traveled a lot. I'm not a cold weather fan at all. Yeah. Obviously, things get heated down here on all levels.
Yeah.
Society, on socio-political spectrum. Yeah. It's really wild. I tend to lean on the liberal end of things. So it gets
claustrophobic.
It gets exciting.
Yeah. And there's a pressure there. There's a pressure there and things but it's always been that way. Even prior to this last few years or whatever, everything's going on within the last administration. There's always something going on, the heat, humidity, class stuff, so economic stuff, everything is, Florida's a pressure cooker. Yeah. Florida's a pressure cooker to a certain degree. I like it. I kind of thrive in that. I don't know, like nail that sticks up gets hammered down, I don't know, man. But it's, I think if you're different and you're here, especially in the area that I live about 40 miles east of Tampa. And so it's to be, you really have to kind of know yourself when you live here and it's
that's pretty rural. I know because I have a good friend in Tampa and I was out in Orlando for work and I just outside of work time I had nothing to do, so I did the drive from Orlando to Tampa like 4 times.
I-4, yeah.
I-4 and for a Californian, that's a fucking weird road. Like just everything going on the sides of the road and the trees and the bushes and shit. It doesn't look like anything.
And the fact that we call it I and not the.
Yeah.
Not the 5. The 5, the 10. Like if somebody came to Florida and they're like, oh, so you get on the 4, like you will be looked at like what is
point
that?
Of order.
Is the 4?
I'm a Northern Californian. We have not adopted the system. That's straight Southern California bullshit.
Okay.
Yep. And we make fun of it too.
We did the same thing though in Utah. I use the. I'm a the.
Oh.
I'm a the guy.
I expect that from Utah at this point. Anything weird, and then you say, "Oh, I was from Utah." You're like, "Okay,
okay,
that's it.
out.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
You guys went with the magic hat guy, so you'll buy anything."
We followed the magic hat guy.
Magic hat guy
and his rocks. Yep, exactly.
And his sacred stones.
I was gonna say only the tablets that he could read.
Yeah, of course.
Is that it, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Only,
And
good for him, man. Good for him. Shit. Maybe he was right. Who knows?
Dude, he did something right. I mean, God, look at this cult he established.
Except, weren't there some very specific prophecies that never happened? Like very detailed and specific.
Oh yeah.
So
of course.
It's interesting how the human,
and they change.
How human beings can overlook that shit when they want to confirm what they believe to be true.
Theology can change a lot when you need to like comply with laws and things like that.
So music. we gave the background on sort of how you came to be here unfolding over the course of a few episodes where we listened to you and then figured out who you were and then ended up talking to a bunch of people that kind of orbit the whole circle randomly for different episodes.
Well,
and
it was funny because it got us to talk about, Miami. Oh, interesting. There's kind of unique sound coming out of here. There's a lot of bands that sound very similar coming out of Miami. And then it was like, this House of Lightning kind of sounds like Torch. That's interesting. I wonder why,
Well.
And then I know you had reached out afterwards, and I'm just going to read this because you pinged us. I guess you had listened because it was on the Pinkish Black episode.
Yeah, Darren.
We had Darren on.
I've toured with Pinkish Black a little bit, not in the band, but Flor did shows with them. So.
Yeah, so it's funny because I mean your message was, I'll just read this for the listeners, but it was, "Hey dudes, thanks for the live review. It was fun to listen to y'all's take. I can fact check a few things for you." I love fact checks.
Yes.
Yeah, and you were like, "Our drummer is Rick Smith, who is Torch's drummer. Your bass player is also in Torch. You play guitar and sing, but on a side note, you were also the drummer for Flor, and you're also in another band called Dove." Or were correct?
Yeah. We were a band from 2000 to 2005, but this last couple years, it seems, like I printed some shirts and some stuff like older 7-inch got re-released, things like that.
Yeah.
That album, we did one full length, and it seems to have somehow taken on a life of its own amongst a crew of people.
Yeah, you sent me the link to it. I checked it out. It was really good.
Yeah. And then you probably haven't listened to this one. You just came up again. This is the maybe the highest accolades was James from JML Guitars, who built a bunch of Steve's guitars. Yep. When we asked him his all-time favorite band, didn't he say Flor?
He said Flor.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
It never gets old.
Yeah,
I'm into it. We've have had a lot of success that a lot of bands who work twice as hard never get, and so it wasn't always easy. It wasn't things weren't necessarily handed to Flor by any stretch of the imagination. But it's cool. I'm glad we were able to. We've been able to see it touch somebody at some point.
Yeah,
specifically others.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I joined in 97. I was a fan prior to that. And then I'm a fan of even the stuff that I played on.
So, hey, why not?
I think we're great.
You should enjoy the music you make.
I love Flor. Yeah, I love my band. Yeah.
That's an interesting point. Which instrument in a band is it the easiest to go back and listen to and just enjoy the band as a listener? I feel like drums, because I feel like for a singer to go back and listen to their own music and go, fuck yeah, man, that's humming.
It takes a lot of hubris to really be like damn, I sing awesome. I recently just listened to the newer House of Lightning record. It's about 5 years old at this point. Probably for the first time in a long time, probably since shortly after finishing it. It was nice to be able to, but it's been about 5 years, and to get away from it long enough, and to be able to listen to it a bit from an outside perspective, as a guitar player and singing, that takes a long time. Whereas with Flor, as its drummer and stuff, it's just easier, because I can. We're all pretty heavy involved in the process of getting, the songs landed, incorrectly and everything. But
yeah, maybe me too. Maybe the bass player, because and depending on exactly how the music works, like Les Claypool, very different bass player in that band than what a lot of bass players do.
Sure.
But I'm involved in the process. But when I'm listening, it's like the big moments are mostly singing and guitar, and so I don't have the cringing at the big moment that's coming. And did I do it?
Yeah, so it's a rhythm section thing.
Probably. Yeah, maybe it's a rhythm section thing. Yeah. Unless you're slapping the bass in a sweet funk band or something, and you're right out front.
Lead bass.
Lead bass.
Eric that plays in House of Lightning, the stuff he did on our last record. I mean, it's almost to what when I remember watching him lay down the bass, and it almost took me a second at times to be like, what song is this? Because it was so varied. It was much different. He wasn't just shadowing like guitar stuff. Like, he's on a whole
different level.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, and I think a lot of people in bands don't hear the bass or really understand in a lot. It depends on how your band works, but when you go into the studio and everything's done, and then the bass player's in there laying down tracks, and you get to really see what's actually happening when you're not concentrating on your parts.
Sure.
I think for a lot of people, if you're not the typical just shadowing playing the roots kind of bass player, I think it does catch people by surprise what's going on. A lot of times in bass, and that's why these isolated bass tracks crack me up, like all these isolated Geddy Lee tracks, so that we can prove how perfect he was in the studio or whatever. And there's some pretty mind bending,
flawless.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, big Rush fan. I love Rush.
Oh God!
Oh boy!
Tangent coming.
Here we go.
No. Everybody knows they're my favorite. They're my all-time favorite. So
they might. Go ahead.
Favorite Rush album? I refuse to pick.
You can't pick? They're just also different?
One of 10 different live albums. It's all live albums for me. I love the studio work, but I think the magic of that band was playing live, and they were so goddamn good at it that just to hear that level of mastery captured in a live performance. I mean, I burned a hole in All the World's a Stage by the time I was 14.
Me too, bro. Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
me too.
I this is Bytor and the Snow Dog on my forearm right here.
Incredible. Incredible. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. Yeah. I love every record. I can't really, but Permanent Waves, there's something about it. I think it's because of the shift from this, it's the records before that were obviously very 70s in a certain essence, whereas Permanent Waves has something like they're off on to the future, and there's Jacob's Ladder Alone.
Yep. So I'm involved. Sorry for repeating this. In a label that puts out tribute records, and we have announced that the next one we're going to do is Rush, and I started sitting down with my band to talk about what we would want to play, and Jacob's Ladder's real high on the list. It's so hard to pick. It's like how do you pick? And my guitar player Carl is obsessed with Alex Lifeson, and he's a huge Rush fan. So fuck, man, I don't know what we're gonna do.
I've said before, if you don't like Rush, there's something wrong with you. Like there's something wrong with you.
I don't not like Rush.
I'm kidding.
I'm just not an avid listener.
This week's episode was Nate Carson from Witch Mountain and Nanotier Booking, and he is also a massive Rush fan. And unlike most Rush fans our age, he didn't stop at Permanent Waves. Like he does a weekly radio show, and he'll spin songs off the last record. And just and go to the grave for them and say, you people, you're just not listening. They've made great music throughout their entire career.
Counterparts, I like Counterparts. The hell, Vapor Trails had I saw them live for that tour, and I think it's production on some of the later records in the '90s that throws it. There was a shift there. I like some of the mid '80s stuff a lot. I love Grace Under Pressure lot, and Subdivisions, obviously. Pretty much everything up to Grace Under Pressure, I'm totally on board. I like Presto to a certain degree.
That was my first tour that I saw them on.
Presto,
and that was, for me, that was formative. I was 16, 15. I don't even remember exactly how old I was. It was really my first big arena show. So it was like a whole
Killer.
experience, and it had the bunnies and the whole thing, and it was just
Totally.
like, whoa.
Yeah, the top hats with the bunnies.
Yeah, it was so cool.
And Show Me, Don't Tell Me. Yeah, that song. Yeah.
Yep.
Homie, Don't Tell Me.
Did you get to see the last tour, the farewell tour?
I did not. I saw them in 2004, the first tour when they came back from Neil's awful years there.
His time off.
From his time off. And then saw them maybe another 3 times. Saw the, I can't remember, the tour they did in 2010 to when they did all of Moving Pictures. I think they did it front to back, stuff like that, pretty much every time was great. The first time I saw them though, they opened with Spirit of Radio, and it took me right back to being 14 years old. The sun was still out. They played this outdoor venue in Tampa, and like palm trees are swaying, and it's really like a summertime record for me. Something about Permanent Waves. I don't know, man. It hit me in some way that I had to sit down. I thought I was gonna start crying. Yeah, like it was like, and we were only like 10 rows. We were about 30 feet from the stage. I mean, so it was, as soon as they came out, I was like, damn, that's really them. And then the whole group was gone. And I felt this almost visceral nostalgia wave, just came over me in a way that it teleported me back to a certain time in my life. I was like, damn, I need to sit down for a second. Like, and then I proceeded to rock.
Yeah, and then I rocked.
Air drum with the 98% male dominated
audience. The Rush crowd. They tried. What's funny about them is, like, in the world of rock and roll, it's almost like the story of why women don't date the nice guy, they date the bad boy. They were the nice guy of 70s era arena rock, and I think there was no air of danger to them. And I think there's something really, I don't know, attractive or magnetic about that to women who like music.
I will say this is that I think they didn't obviously portray a dangerous edge, but there's something as people that I'm like, they're not really those dudes to mess with. Alex had an incident in Florida where he got arrested and he headbutted a cop and kicked and spit blood in her face, and then kicked another one down a flight of stairs.
Oh my god!
Because they got on something about security roughed up his son at a hotel on New Year's Eve. His son got out and started messing with the band, and then and then Alex wasn't having it, man. And he's they come from they're the children of war prisoners, man. I mean, so there's true. There's a genetic memory there, man, that they were like, death to all oppressors, bro. And so,
that's true.
It might have looked nice.
Well, I mean,
but I've heard something too that Getty was like a bare knuckle boxing champion at one time. I mean, something like for real, like.
I'm gonna look that one up.
I know some people I know some people that know them, and I could that are friends within the Rush camp. I'll have to ask and try to get to the bottom of that.
Get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Well, then Neil did have that Ayn Rand streak, which always makes you dangerous. So he had his edgy libertarian period.
Yep, for sure.
Well, I love, though, I mean, we talk a lot about listening to a band's catalog over the course of their history on Bandcamp, even a new band that we don't really know, and how it's so easy now to just record and put it out and record and put it out that you can see the progression of the music. Rush, to me, is a lot about the progression of his thought process and his views of the world. And we got to see him go from a young guy
to Fly by Night
to an opinionated and Ayn Randian libertarian to an old man who softened and saw the error of his
young ways.
And went through hell.
And then went through hell.
On a personal level, he went through hell.
I mean, you can't go through that and write songs about Kubla Khan and By Torn the Snow Dog anymore.
Things got too real. Got too real.
Things got a little too real. So Rush fan, how did you get started as like an avid listener of music and then even playing?
Let's see. Probably like a lot of people, I'm born in an era well, okay, let me try to articulate this. My mom liked rock and roll a lot. She was of the time of the 70s, and prior to my being born, she saw everything. I mean, Black Sabbath, Zeppelin, Alice Cooper. She had tons of stories of that, and she partied. And then I came along, and then I definitely remember late 70s. I remember disco. I loved it, things like that. Listen to the radio, man. I grew up from time I was about 4 to about 11 on a piece of property. I'm an only child. I grew up on 20 acres in the middle of an area called the Green Swamp.
Damn.
And so, and I like to say a feral kid, like I was kind of just left to my own devices a lot.
Oh, wow.
70s parents, they get wild.
Yep.
So they just,
I had those.
Yep.
Yeah, right. So a lot of time by the radio, my mom would introduce certain things. I remember early on, I had ZZ Top Deguelo on 8-track. I had
8-track, yes.
I had Village People, and I had and I remember, you remember the 10 cassettes for a penny thing, they used to do.
Oh yeah, Columbia House.
Columbia House.
Totally.
There were a
you.
couple of them.
Yeah. So my mom at some point came in and gave me actually Heaven and Hell, the first Dio with Black Sabbath record. Which, I mean, when you're 6, you're like, okay, you listen to it all, and take it all in. That was probably the initial phase. Music was always around.
I got to stop you. So you weren't at 6 like, oh, come on, Ozzy is Black Sabbath. Don't give me this. Don't give me this deal.
No, but I will. But I will say, I'm in that camp now.
Yeah.
And I have been. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like some Dio songs, but the level of like, it's just not really my deal. I mean, he had a lane, and obviously, man. And I will say though, he seemed that he really cared for the people who enjoyed his music. You never hear a story from a fan that's like fuck Dio.
No, never.
He's always cool. Never.
The opposite.
I give that a lot of credit. And I like Rainbow. I like some of the stuff for Rainbow and things like that. Obviously, he did it much larger than I ever have. So all props to Dio.
And was such a sweet, tiny man. Like I saw him in person once, and there was he played some show in Santa Cruz, I think at the Catalyst.
Yeah.
And just was out on the street afterwards talking to people and hanging out like I'm talking 15 years ago. Like the man was as famous as you can get in rock and roll, and he was so cool. Yeah,
it's you don't always hear that. About other artists on occasion. Let me think. So from there, at some point in the early 80s, I started going to the skating rink every weekend with a cousin of mine. Shout out my cousin Missy.
Cousins.
Yeah, she was a little bit older than me, and she would drag me along, and I spent, I would say, between 1982 to 1986 in the skating rink almost every weekend. So and in Florida, skating rink music is, like Gap Band, Dad's Band, I saw the first wave of break dancing and electro. That was knee deep in it, man. That's, I still to this day, you can put on Planet Rock and I'm like, yeah. Like any second, bro, let's do this.
You're Rexing.
Yeah, I do.
Busting out your moves.
Yeah, totally. I think a lot of that, just instilled the feeling of I just feel cool, man. It feels great, to hear it, and so through that era, and then obviously, bass music and living in Florida, it's synonymous, and so my middle school years were, multicultural to say the least, and so I was really deep in that. I'd say as far as getting into rock, prior to all that, I love Joan Jett. That was probably the first artist I ever heard that I was like riff, like, and it I was like, ooh, every time you hear it.
Me too.
Yeah, so big time. As far as leaning and finding punk rock, all that happened really through, I rode BMX, Flatland BMX from, dead serious from like Christmas of 85 until, probably 1992. I had an injury at some point. It kind of moved me towards guitar more, but in that scene, I discovered like TSOL, stuff like that. TSOL was probably the first like punk band, that I was shot out on it. I was 11 years old when I got into them. And then, and prior to that, I didn't have MTV or anything. We lived out in the middle of nowhere. We didn't have cable for years. I didn't even have a telephone for years. So everything was skating rink, cousins, and school, and the schools I went to, so even like my primary, like second, third, fourth grade, I was in the middle of, the breakdancing era and Thriller, and, I was all about it, part of the times. And so, discovered punk rock and stuff like that, around 86, and then 88, early 88, started going to shows, and I was 13, and my first show was Surf Punks and Agent Orange. And then, things evolve.
I fucking loved the Surf Punks. I loved the Surf Punks.
It was great. Yeah, the show. The one time I saw them, it was
Ballroom
great.
Blitz. That was incredible.
I saw them in Daytona Beach.
Did you?
Yeah, and I was left to my own devices a lot. So like if I had a couple older friends, I would just be like, hey, I'm going to Daytona for a couple of days with my friends. I was 13, sleeping in a car. There were no real rules. Yeah, so I
still feral.
I was allowed to be who I was. My parents were pretty wild. I was highly encouraged to be an individual and just do what I do with real feeling. And my mom dated a highlight player from Spain in the late in '89.
Fascinating.
He was younger. I was like 14. He was about 23. But my mom, I remember her saying, I met this guy at the beach. They've been hanging out for a couple of weeks, and she was like, he's into thrash music.
Oh,
but at that time,
thrash
listening
highlight player.
He was from Spain. Yeah, he was right from Spain, and he came to visit one time because he lived in Cocoa and we lived in this small town called Haines City, and he came over to visit my mom. And I remember, I'll never forget when he pulled up his car, he had a big MDC sticker on the back of the car. And I was like, all right, bro, I see you. And but he's the guy who like turned me on to like Gangrene, Bad Brains, and then the ball starts rolling. I got into Minor Threat, like most kids do.
Exactly.
Sometime when I was about 13, you get handed the staples, but for me, it was, those staples were like, Minor Threat, 7 Seconds, things like that. And then a lot of the Revelation records, Gorilla Biscuits. And,
I'm a huge Rev fan.
Oh, bro, I was 89, 90.
That was just like the label I grew up with.
Yeah, me too. Yep. Yeah, I was deep on it. I even liked like the later Bold EPs and stuff like that. I was Running Like Thieves and all that, the 7-inch.
Some of the crazier stuff on Rev is actually some of my favorite. Like I'm a giant Into Another fan, maybe one of my favorite bands ever. The only reason they got a Revelation is because they used to be in hardcore bands, because that was not
it was left field for the Rev.
So out of the left field, like it was closer to Rush than it was any Rev band. But I love especially a lot of the sort of that after like Gorilla Biscuits and sort of when they got a little bit more of the
a little more art, when the art started pouring in instead of just I'm young and I'm just
exactly. When people were like, we should learn how to play these instruments.
I was really into a lot of that stuff, Cro-Mags, things of all that. Nausea, I love Nausea a lot. I discovered them through the Rev comp, the Way It Is comp, probably in '89, and then the Extinction LP came out, about 2 years later, and I freaked out on that. I would say what led me to playing guitar was a lot of different. I'm really trying to think of the timeline here. I was into a lot of that stuff, and then sometime early '91, I discovered, a few years later, or a few years too late, Fang, the band Fang. The first two records, Land Shark, Where the Wild Things Are. There was something about the slower tempo of it. Man, it just appealed to me right off the bat. The riffs, and by the time I was into Sabbath and Zeppelin and Hendrix, mostly Hendrix. I was really a big Hendrix fan, starting at 13. Was really into Fang, and then I saw Melvins on the Bullhead tour, and that was I had just started playing guitar within a few months prior to seeing them, and that was a revelatory moment, where I was like, "Yep, that's me. That's what I want to do.
This is my thing.
Yeah, that is my thing. That is, that's what I want to,
That's funny.
At least the energy. That's what I was trying to capture for a long time.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I think they're the currently operating, still vital band that is the single source of inspiration for the most people we've talked to, and for most of the people that kind of orbit the scenes. I mean, I don't like to say I only listen to any one type. I listen to all kinds of stuff, but it's like most of the bands I like, if you really talk to them, they go, "Oh, and I love the Melvins," or "I saw a Melvin show and it changed my life." I've heard 7. I saw a Melvin show and it changed my life.
But when I saw the Melvins,
I saw them twice within about 6 months. Once in '91, and then I saw them prior to Lysol coming out. Joe was still playing with them, and that's my era. Like that was the era that, as most things, when you see it when you're 16, it's leaves such an impression. Your brain is still forming grooves, and it was everything. Everything. That first 6 years of their record releases was that's the blueprint, I think, for anything. I was, at least the jump off point for most of the people that even musically I've been involved with in Florida. It's kind of how befriended a lot of people, especially back then, because if you met somebody that was like, "Man, I'm into this," or "I own this record," it said, "Oh,
let's hang out."
It said a lot. And so
and the Melvins are a great filter, because it's not for everyone, for sure. You have to be wired a certain way, interested in a certain thing, a certain energy, and it just immediately funnels people down to okay.
It kind of does seem like that. It seems like, "Oh, you like heavy music? Oh, okay, cool. Do you like the Melvins? No?
Oh,
okay. Okay. Yeah, we're okay.
Okay.
I know where we're at here."
Yeah.
Well,
you like
definitely,
Alter Bridge?
It can date somebody real quick. It can date someone real fast. I mean, I think that was the initial intro, as far as getting, to the point to where, I think when I saw them, it was like, "Oh, that's how you play instruments." I didn't even play drums. I mean, I could play tap, but seeing, the physical approach that they put to it, it was a great lesson. And also saw them play to about 5 people in Tampa in a room that holds about 2,500, so it was a massive room. And I remember thinking, like, "Damn, why are they playing this room?" Like this is a really big venue and there's no one here.
That's crazy.
They still probably wouldn't sell 2,500 tickets in most cities, but they sell enough to get by.
I think they do at least 300-400, if not 5, depending on. I think Orlando they can do about 400 or 500. I would say.
I know
at least
out here they mostly tour 500,
like 500 or less.
500 or less cap venues.
But they'll do it twice a year, and people will show up both times. It's a little bit of a different model. It's an old Road Dogg kind of a model. They must be going stir crazy.
I can't imagine. I mean, man, they've just. I mean, God, what? Another couple of years they'll be doing it 40 years.
I mean, what's going to happen is like when all of this is sort of hopefully over, then they're just going to come out and they're going to release 5 albums that they recorded in the last year.
I don't know. I wonder what they've been up to. I've seen little tidbits, little bits and pieces. I saw one video of Buzz in the studio using a pickle as a fuzz pedal. So
with God, what's her name?
Sheila?
No.
I think of her name.
Oh man,
legendary producer that everyone should know.
Yeah, I've watched a ton of her videos too. Oh, dude, it's right here.
It'll come. Just say her name is Dave Davidson.
10 minutes down the road, just spit it out.
Yeah, just say it.
Exactly.
Don't know. Just shout it. It won't even matter.
Sheila!
We'll know what you're talking about.
Right in the middle of a song. Yeah. So you started with guitar, but you also played drums because you played drums in Flor.
Yeah.
And I think also bass, right?
On the records, I play bass. Yeah, on the Flor records, and on one House of Lightning record, I did. We didn't even have bass on it. I did a bass synth, just all the bass lines. I wrote a bunch of bass lines on the bass, and I just played them on keyboard. I learned kind of how to play rudimentary every instrument in one summer. In the summer of '91, there was a local hardcore band here in my town in Winter Haven. called EBS. They have a 7-inch out called Cosmetic Society. They practiced in my mom's house.
There you go.
I was friends with them, and at some point they had lost their space. Like I said, man, my mom was real liberal. She sold weed and shit, so like the house was a chill zone. It wasn't always chill between her and I, but it was, it was a free expression zone. And so EBS practiced in my house, but they left the gear in a spare room there. So I had just finished 10th grade. It was the one summer I didn't go to summer school in high school. And so I'd wake up in the morning and I'd learned, literally just had a tick tack, and then bass came pretty easy, real quick. Just so on and so forth, and then guitar was within probably a week of that, of learning just a standard power chord. And learning how to go back and forth at the neck, and then I saw the Melvins, and I was like, I need big ass, and I need a Les Paul, and that's just how it's going to be. So,
I need big,
other things filter in, but I was going to a lot of shows in Tampa then too, and so there was just a lot going on. Obviously death metal was a big thing, and in this area, everybody knew somebody in a band. The high school that I went to had the original bass player for Morbid Angel went to my high school. Nasty Savage bass player went to my high school. I mean, they were a few years older than me, but Graham Parsons went to my school.
Graham Parsons went to your high school?
yeah, from the same town. Yeah, nice. Obviously some years apart.
Yeah.
He was gone before I made my entrance into the world. His
project ended before.
But I learned. Totally. I learned everything of that, and then shortly in late '91. Actually, it wasn't within a few weeks of seeing the Melvins. I was trying to jam with people and put together riffs, and I was pretty driven to try to find my place and create that energy. I loved it, and so I wanted to feel what I got from their records, but I wanted to be able to create it and do it all the time. And I thought it was really original. I didn't think I was so original, but I thought that wave that they were on was very original, and I wanted to be a part of it. A lot of that, trying to find progression, and not prog progression, but just a mindset. A mindset. A lot of it came, I think, my BMX career almost just ended right when I started playing guitar. I broke my wrist actually, and then I could still play guitar, but I couldn't really hold on to I couldn't hold on to a pair of handlebars for probably 3 years after took a bad one. But
oh wow.
But just the probably the artistic energy I put into riding a bike, just went, and at that age too, man, you're just hot, you're 16 and you're just like, you can do it,
Yeah, I mean, that was the exact age I got started. And it was, similar in that I only ever wanted to be a bass player. I idolized Geddy Lee. I grew up in the Bay Area. Primus was a thing here. They were kind of a big deal. I was going to see Mr. Bungle. Trevor Dunn's maybe one of the greatest bass players who's ever lived. And but my best friend Paul went to Europe for the summer with his parents and left his guitar at my house. And I was like, well, shit, if there's going to be a guitar at my house, what kind of a waste would it be not to learn how to play it? So I set myself a goal of learning how to play every song on the first Danzig record. And I spent that summer, which for a bass player is very doable. Great album. Flawless record. It is pretty much really a flawless record.
It is.
I love it.
I don't think Danzig wrote a bad song, man. Between 77 and 93, maybe. I don't think Danzig wrote a bad song.
Yeah, first three Danzig records?
First three Danzig records, flawless. I mean, obviously the third one's starting to push the envelope a little bit, but it's still like, he had a lot of attitude that he seemed he could walk that walk, and so he doesn't know anybody anything. I mean, shit, man. What did he write? Like 99 Misfit songs. Every damn one of them's got a hook.
Exactly.
I mean, for real. Like, how many Halloween tribute bands are there Misfits every year? It's just
it's an industry.
It's in the lexicon of the vernacular. I mean, Misfits. I mean, it's crazy, but the music backs it up, and I think they're the whole trip with them pressing their own records. And I mean, it's really wild, especially if you consider the times, And,
yeah.
I listened to an interview with him and Pushead probably from like 85 recently. And he was detailing, he was like, yeah, we sold 10,000 copies of that. And it's like, shit, dude, like crazy numbers, like it's just really wild to think, and they were just.
And they kept it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really wanted to learn pinch harmonics. I think that was like the end goals. I want to get to where I can make those squeals.
Bro.
I gotta be able to squeal.
Yeah. When I first learned them, I was, you're hacking at it, like as soon as I was able to start whipping them off, throw them in here and there, for sure.
Definitely use tastefully. It's sharpen the tool and then put it away most of the time and get it out for that one moment where it's really the right tool.
I've seen Zakk Wylde play a few times.
Jesus Christ.
Oh man. Oh bro. Like, just play the riff, bro. He's got the chorus on, and I like chorus pedal, but it's just something about how I think the EMGs and the chorus pedal and the constant.
And the 15-minute solo over a great Black Sabbath song. It's like, and it's not like, I mean, good guy, good guitar player, but his guitar vocabulary is not very big. So in a 15-minute long solo, he's just repeating the same shit over and over and over again. He doesn't go to new places that much. And it is exhausting. I think the most exhausted I ever was after a show was seeing that guy play.
Just wore out. I saw him play. God, what was I saw Black Label Society play this tiny little room in Orlando, and it was okay at the time. The records or whatever, for me. But a friend of mine, he was like, "Man, we should go see Zakk Wylde." I was like, "Okay, fuck it, let's go." It was impressive, but I think they played like 2 hours. It's like, dude, stop. Like, wore you out. Just started wearing me out.
Wanting more.
I think the only other time I saw him play was I somehow. In St. Pete, there used to be a venue called Club Detroit, and so there was and then there was an outdoor venue called Janice Landing, but they were connected literally by like this little hallway, and you could kind of go between the venues. And so I went to see the Lunatics play Club Detroit, and somebody's like, "Man, Ozzy's dude's playing out in the courtyard," which was Janice Landing. It's the outdoor venue. So I just walk out the hall, and it was when he was doing his. What's that Southern rock band that he was doing? Pride and Glory.
Yeah. I'm all
Pride
full
and Glory.
up on that one.
Yeah. So
wow.
I will say though, man, it was the most like, he didn't see. It was before all the biker, shtick and all that. Like he was just a dude in some bell bottoms and just ripping, and it was cool. Yeah, it was all right. Yeah. I think that was the time I saw him. Come up. The thing I remember about that show was, well, the Lunatics were great. I only seen them once and they were incredible. But there was like the backstage was actually like this glass wall that sat above the club and you could see. And I saw Lunatics in one corner of the room, and then I remember seeing Zakk Wylde walk up these stairs, and I think the girls look at him and he just like takes all his sweaty clothes off, like butt naked. And just like grabs it down, like pulls some clothes on. I was like, I don't think I'm imagining this. I was like, damn, man, like, go for it, Zakk. Yeah, do you, bro?
Yeah, he does have that kind of like Viking energy that like,
oh yeah, he's larger than life, man.
I was made to conquer.
Yeah,
kind of energy. Is he a big man in real?
I was just gonna say he
real
looks
life?
Really
I think he's 6 foot something. Yeah, I think he
okay.
played football in high school or something. He was. I think he's New Jersey dude. I think.
Yeah, Larry. Actually, my guitar player's old band opened for them in San Francisco at the Stone, I think, which is I don't know, maybe 300. It was a pretty small venue. And Larry's version of the story is he had to borrow my equipment because something of his wasn't working, and then man, I just fucking I blew him off the stage, and I was like, really? Did you really? Because I've seen Zakk Wylde play, and I was in a band with you.
Yeah.
So
right.
maybe we'll.
I did watch his rig rundown not too long ago, and I thought it was kind of cool that he only uses like 3 or 4 pedals, and he doesn't use a power block. He does everything batteries, and he's got 2. So if something goes wrong, you can literally just snatch 2 chords out and throw the other one right down there. It's like on this little wood board, man. It's like, I was like, damn, that's really simple. Like, no massive rack and switching systems and a tech that has to do all that. I mean, it's just him and 35 bullseye painted Les Pauls and
well, now he's got his own guitar brand.
Oh, yeah, I've seen something.
Guitars, WYLDE, and they all have that fucking swirly, make you dizzy pattern on them. Yeah, and a goofy like Dean kind of headstock with this like a upside down flying V or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Speaking of guitars,
well, yeah, what's it? We got a sneak peek.
We started talking about the one behind you, but that was prior to recording.
Yes. So
this is your regular player.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, this is the only guitar I own now. I've sold off. I'm trying to get it right in the camera.
Oh, yeah, we can see it. It's a beautiful BC Rich. You said 80s Mockingbird?
I think it's an 83. At one time I thought it was an 85, but I think somebody told me the wrong thing. It's neck through. Yes. Originally, the Floyd was not on it. It's top mounted. Somebody crowbarred it on here, probably, I'm guessing, in the 80s. I paid $350 for it off eBay. And nice. And I usually put a set of strings on it and I tune it once. And, obviously with the Floyd, it
just,
I like the whammy bar. Yeah, I'm a little whammy bar crazy these days. I have been for some years, but a lot of it is the tuning stability factor. I'll probably never go back to, highly unlikely I'll ever go back to anything non-Floyd, even if I wasn't snatching and diving and all that. For tuning, I played Gibsons exclusively for from 91 until 2007, and every single one ever had, no matter how good the setup, if you got 2 songs on stage where you weren't stepping on the pedal and trying to get it back up to pitch, or when you get into the higher register and intonation, there's always just something a little off in Gibson intonation. I think it's the shorter neck scale. I'm not super tech savvy as far as like I can set a guitar pretty well, but the engineering behind the neck scale to here to there, how people get really but it's a cool guitar. I like it a lot. It's really light, it's lightweight, and it's
only got that one pickup in there. Got a big hole
man,
in the top.
I'm firmly believer in
simple.
I don't need tone knobs. I don't need all that. Yeah, I'm kind of definitely in the Eddie realm of wired straight to a 500K pot. I like air, and I like 250s. Just always seem to kind of choke things off a little bit. I like the 500K pot, and it's a DiMarzio Super Distortion.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't wrap my head around someone who's got complex tone controls on the guitar or the bass, and then like an EQ pedal on the board, and then an amp that's got EQ controls and other tone controls. Like at some point it becomes like wizardry to get to the sweet spot. And do you really need to be able to turn all those different knobs to get there, or could you just get there much easier with fewer places to tweak your EQ?
I wonder. Yeah, it's I think for me it's just simple, keep it as simple as possible. Less things out of the chain in case something goes wrong, and I just don't use that much. I've never, even all the years I had Les Pauls, with the 2 tone knobs and the 2 volumes for the pickups. I only usually used the neck pickup for years as a kill switch because I saw Buzz do it, and that was all I used it for. I've never switched between pickups or, and some people do. I mean, I've seen, but yeah, for me, no.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like,
only like
I have all kinds of settings on some of my basses, and I'll fuck with them. But then when I find the right spot, I never touch those. Like anything on my instrument is volume up, volume down. I have a kill switch. That's it. Yeah. I don't switch between pickups. But I'm not like a transparent, straight into the amp jazz bass player where the nuance changes between one pickup or a little adjustment in the tone knob is actually going to be heard. I'm running through a giant amp with a bunch of distortion, so it's like, really, can you tell the fucking dude? I don't I mean, I always, we joked about this way long ago on like the Andrew Hall episode. Like, people with pedal boards, and I'm guilty of this too. In a small venue, like fucking making sure to step on everything right, and then every once in a while I stop and I go, if I was standing on the other side listening to this, would I even notice if I didn't touch a single pedal, or could I just leave it in? Unless you're doing weird special effects,
like clean and fuzz.
Yeah, sometimes the big difference I hear if you go out and listen from the audience side is just negligible, because the room is so important in the whole thing. And if you're playing in a little cement shoebox, it's like, fucking don't waste your time. Just play the song. Sometimes it makes sense, but we get upset. People, sometimes you get a little gear obsessed and a little nitpicky, and I've seen people, like, get mad and quit a show or stop playing because some setting wasn't exactly right. And it was like, you want to say it, just play it. It's fine. We'll enjoy it. Don't worry about it too much.
I'm a little more free flowing with it these days. I've had at one point about 2002, I had a bunch of my gear. Well, I had guitars get stolen, and that kind of broke me of feeling like I needed to have real specific stuff,
Yeah.
And then I had a warehouse fire where Flor practiced at, where pretty much everything but I run a power amp and a preamp and a little 4-space rack. Everything other than that and my guitar burned. So like, I don't own cabinets anymore. I don't have any of that. My musical life is in Miami, so pretty much everybody down there has cabinets within the Torch camp, and so I just
that's not that's
I'll
nice.
show up somewhere and be like, "This your gab?"
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
sweet. I love those little. I haven't used one yet, but God, who makes those? Seymour Duncan, the Power Stage, the little foot, like they make like a crazy little pedal board amp that's like some monster, man, like 300 watts or something.
I mean, so much stuff has changed now. Just seeing even some of the bands that relied on vintage gear for sound, for tone or whatever, like going, the modelers are pretty good now. We can just run that, or even like revisionist history about Line 6 stuff, which was most people's first experience with modeling that was terrible, and not really like ready for production, but now kind of going back to it and liking it either for nostalgia or to be ironic or whatever. I don't know exactly what it's for.
I love Crate.
Oh,
I run Crate all day.
That was my very first bass amp was a 10 watt.
My preamp that I've used on every record I've played guitar on is a mid-90s 1-space rack mount Crate preamp. God, man, we used it on both Flor records. It's all over, man. It's great.
You're in good company. That's the legendary amp that Billy Corgan recorded Siamese Dream on, was a little Crate combo.
Say no more.
And then and then
say no more. Give me that Siamese Dream money, bro. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he had a big gear sale on Reverb a few years ago, and I think he sold that thing for like $6,000 or something because it was the Siamese Dream amp.
Yeah,
and you're like, no, that's like a $125 amp that your mom buys you when you say,
that's incredible.
Guitar
I've never heard that story about it. I always thought it was some Marshall that he gained out or something. The guitars on that record sound incredible.
I'm sure the history is documented, and I bet that's not the only amp that was used. Those are fun stories to tell.
But he did use a Crate amp.
But he definitely used it. So I'm curious what the actual story is.
Hence the multi-million selling figures.
Well, yeah. Well, you've been in a studio. You go
sound
into
of the people.
Yeah, for sure. But you go into an isolation room you don't go with a full stack and a 100-watt stage amp, because what are you going to get? You're going to get nonsense. So sometimes when you're capturing tones in the studio, you just use what works and don't ask too many questions about it.
Yeah. Sweet. I want to really quick. We should do some music.
Yes, we should.
First, I want to go back to genealogy for a minute.
Oh.
But
threw me
just
curveball,
because I want to do the genealogy of the bands here to make sure we've got everything accurate.
Oh, yeah.
So Flor, that was kind of the first, right? So kind of Flor was
Flor started
sort of the mother
of Steve and Anthony.
Steve, Anthony.
Steve and Anthony started with Betty, who is the drummer in Holly Hunt in Miami. Betty still plays. Betty's incredible. They started Flor in '92, I believe. maybe late 91, early 92. I think the first 7-inch came out in 92. Tons of 7-inch material. At some point, Betty left the band and they had a guy named Jeff, and Jeff is on a couple of the LPs that were in our box set from 94 and 95. And then they stopped playing shows, I think, at the end of 96. I became friends with him in the mid 90s. And at some point, it wasn't even a thing that I think at one point what it was, Steve had moved to Atlanta and then he moved back to Miami. And then I think he and Anthony were speaking about, and Anthony and I talked every day during that era. We still talk a lot, you know, all the time. I think they wanted to start playing again. And Anthony and I were in a conversation about it. And they didn't play live that much, but they seemed to record everything as apparent by the box set. Yes. So I think at that time I just told Anthony, I was like, man, you know, I could easily play drums on a record for you guys. I didn't own a drum kit. I just could get on a drum kit and do my thing. I jammed with other people over, you know, different times here and there. I'd never played in. Flor is the first band I ever played drums for. It's pretty much I've played in a couple other bands drums, but I played in a band Cavity for a bit, and did one record with them after my initial. Flor we had some start-stop moments, you know, for a while until we, you know, we just have always operated that way. When we're on, we're really on and it's hot, and when we're not, we're just see you when I see you, you know. And so Jeannie, I would say Flor, really, even prior to my involvement in it. You know, Steve and Anthony are, you know, and Betty, they're total originals, you know. And Steve, I think, was about 17, I think, when they started the band. Anthony's a few years older. Steve and I are only about 9 months apart in age, and it's pretty incredible to listen to some of that stuff. You know, I'm a fan of the band outside of my output with them.
Completely.
So I would say Cavity started around that same era too. And Cavity had came out of a band called Powerhouse, or Dan, the bass player in Cavity, had played in a total hardcore, you know, somewhat rev like band in Miami called Powerhouse. And yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
So then Steve leaves, does Torch. Well, I'm not really leaves, but sort of he starts Torch. You go do Dove.
Well, Dove had been going for about 4 years prior to Torch starting. So Flor, we were on and off a lot from 97 until about 2000. It would be about, you know, a couple months every year. We were kind of always moving towards doing an LP. Like, you know, we're going to knock this up. We're going to make our Dark Side of the Moon. I mean, that's, you know, that was our trip. And we, you know, did the self-titled. We were working on material for another record, and then we did a bunch of touring that was awful in 2003. I mean, we played probably 75 shows in summer 2003, and maybe 4 of those were attended. You know, I mean, we played shows to no one. Yeah, no, it was. I kept us on the road on a credit card. You know, I mean, it was really wild. But you know, we'd meet people in other bands. It seemed like people. You know, we had support there through our peers, you know, in bands and stuff like that. And at that time we were just starting to talk to Relapse about maybe doing the record after we had done the one record with No Idea Records and the self-titled original label. We had, Steve had a personal tragedy happen while we were on tour. So we had to, you know, we came home. I didn't know if he would ever play music again. And we had some time off. We got together maybe 6-7 months after that and jammed a little bit. In that period prior to that, I started jamming Dove in 2000, summer of 2000, and we were out playing shows while Flor was still trying to get it together. And then, you know, Flor would take a lot of precedent at that time. You know, I would be out with them a lot, and then we just anyway, things fell apart in 2003. We tried kind of reigniting it in 2004, right prior to summer. By that point, though, I was really enjoying what I was doing on guitar and the touring I was doing, that Dove was doing. And I just felt like I don't know. There was just something at that time. The whole deal was it just didn't feel like it was the time to get back behind the drum kit. And I kind of just bowed out. And then Steve I think he decided, like instead of putting together a whole other band under the Flor name, he went and started a whole new band, which I think after we did the self-titled, with Flor, it was pretty definitive that it was the three of us, like that, we were the band,
yeah,
or at least I think of it that way. I don't think, so yeah, I did that. Steve started Torch. I was doing Dove, and then I'm not sure where to go from there.
So did the Flor album Dove come before the band or after the band?
Yes. No, way before I even knew those dudes. It was a weird coincidence. So I had heard some of that material on a tape. I didn't know that the album that they had was actually called that. Anthony would just send me these tapes like, hey man, we recorded this stuff. It's not getting released. There was back and forth with different labels over the goofiest of reasons. Mostly because labels, I think, were really short-sighted. The Dove LP got shelved because Steve sang on 2 songs. Now that Steve is known for a melodic sense, and what we did with the self-titled and what Steve has, continued to do and, forever. Steve has had the gift for years. And so on the Dove LP, was recorded in 94. I think when they turned it into the original label to release it, the label basically was like, what's up with this singing on these 2 songs? You need to go back.
Fucking labels, man.
Yeah, real talk. So I think they wanted the band to go back, and this is just from me understanding the history of the band, because I was, pretty
this
much
is pre you, yeah.
Yeah, this is pre me, but I was, always kind of I like to be the historian of the band to a certain degree. From what I understand, the label wanted them to re-record 2 songs, heavy songs, with some screaming vocals or whatever. And I think, Steve isn't really one to look back, so he was like, no, we'll just record a whole another record. And so they did another album again. There was some mix issues with it. I think the label got upset because they owed whoever mixed it $300. So there was like a hang up over $300. Yeah. 90s.
These are real stories, people.
This is
These
real.
This
is real shit. Yeah. Over $300. Yeah. 90s sludge, doom, whatever, man, it was the Wild West, and people were really short-sighted, I think.
We had Billy, even though he's done it a bunch of times, sort of go through the story of Dope Smoker and how that all fell apart. And it's just another case of a short-sighted label who got into some shit that they had no business being into and just fucked it up for everybody. I mean, and then finally it gets fixed years later, but still, that changed the trajectory of multiple people's lives.
However, let me pose this question.
Yes.
So let me pose this question. Had there not been the controversy with Dope Smoker, had that a label just originally put that out and it hadn't become like this underground, like, have you heard type thing? Like,
I had it for a few.
I
had it for a few years before I even knew of any of those stories.
Yeah.
It was taking off. The Jerusalem mix of it was. I had a bootleg cassette. Actually, my very first trip to San Francisco, I stayed with the drummer for DRI, the guy Rob Rampy. He's from Winter Haven here. It's a small town, so you just know people.
He's on my Facebook. I see.
Rob,
I see posts from Rob and his wife, I believe.
Yeah. So Rob he was living in San Francisco at the time, and one of his roommates was listening to Holy Mountain, and I'd had it for a few years. At that point, I bought it when it came out. To be perfectly honest, wasn't totally enamored with it, and that era was a little too hippie-ish for me at that time. Because really after Lysol, that was like. The Melvins felt like the future, and so looking back and being so blatantly influenced by 70s stuff, with the orange amps and the bell bottoms, and they were doing them. I don't know, I didn't know them. I know Matt to a certain degree for some years now, but I didn't know what wave they were on. I was just some small town kid who lived outside of Tampa who was just inundated with bands like Ass Suck and stuff like that, and so so there's But anyway, I was at Rob Rampy's house in '96, and one of his roommates was listening to it, and I said something. I said, "Man, yeah, I know about that band, but I hear they don't really tour anymore." And that was the first time I'd heard the story. That was, I think, the only time I ever met this roommate. He goes, "Man, word is that they've recorded an hour-long song."
Yeah.
One song.
and I remember and he goes, I think it's supposed to be like Holy Mountain, the song, like more drony. And that was actually my favorite track off that record. And I was like, the legend of it then started growing, where I was like, damn, that sounds interesting as hell. I need to hear that.
I get my hands on that.
Yeah, I loved it. I'm probably in a small camp. There's something about the Jerusalem mix. I know that's not the band or the engineers.
Favorite.
That's not their deal. But from an outsider's perspective, and maybe just because of the time where I was when I got it, I think it's just more condensed. I think it's 52 minutes instead of 64 or something like that.
The essence of them is still in that mix. I mean,
oh, sure.
Especially because this is live music. This was never music for record. It's live first, and then we try to cram it onto a tape so that you can share it with your friends, so that when they come to your town, you'll go see the real thing, which is them doing it live.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm pretty tolerant of mixes and recordings, and try to focus in on just the music as much as possible. Sometimes engineering can get in the way, but
I can listen to boombox recordings, and if the song's there, it's like, this is tight.
Completely.
Yeah. The Sleep Legend, though, I had one friend who saw them in '94. A friend of mine, Wendy, she saw them in, I think, Savannah with Hawkwind. And I remember she called me. She's like, "Man, I saw Hawkwind." She goes, "But there was this band opening up I think you might be into." And she said their name. And I said, "Oh, yeah, I have that record." She said, "Yeah, man, it had this projector and NASA footage and a lot of weed." And at that time, man, like the weed thing, I'd just be like, shit's played out, But,
I get that at home.
Yeah, like when you grow up around, like it was like there was no mysticism behind it. It wasn't. I wasn't even into it, So
the question is a good one though, because, and I think the essence of the question is, would we have gotten High on Fire? Because so much of what made High on Fire happen was Matt's frustration and rage about what happened to Sleep, and it just snapped something in him. And I don't know, had that album come out the way they expected and had done well, and would we have ever had this now legendary Grammy-winning heavy metal band?
That's
taken the mantle from Lemmy, passed it to Matt and said, "All right, it's yours now." Which
I think those are things, just even from my own experience, and I'd call Flor a success. Just stay in the moment and give your all to your art, and you never know where it's going to take you. You can have a lot of intent and none of it work out. And then all of a sudden you get hit up with opportunities that you've never in a million years,
you didn't plug in again?
Oh man, it's like I don't do this anymore.
It's on the floor.
My battery's running low. We'll be right back with you.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, I completely hear you. And I know you guys didn't invent it. It wasn't like Steve and Anthony invented the bomb tuning.
No, they did.
I think it was like...
They did invent the bomb tuning.
Oh, they did actually invent
no, they invented it.
They were the very first ones?
No, they invented it.
I mean, I
for
knew
sure.
Got popular. I didn't know they invented it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Steve picked up... Steve there was a guitar with a broken string at practice, is the story. Or Steve broke a string at practice, and he just started playing on the other strings, and then he hit the broke string, and there was a light bulb moment that apparently Anthony looked at him, and they both looked at each other, and Steve kept hitting it, and they were like, and then somehow they figured it out. We were still figuring it out when we did the self-titled. There's a certain tension to it, how especially when you record it live, it's a lot more forgiving because it's just chaotic, but in the studio, there's definitely like a certain bounce to it, a certain tension that we, every time we've recorded, it's like go in there and play that. I'm sitting by the monitors and hitting the string up a little. You don't want it to be a note, but you don't want it to just be a flat string slapping. No, it's definitely a Steve's thing. For sure.
I'm just happy that you asked the question, because you asked a question about tuning of guitars, which is almost like asking a question about pedals.
So many bands on that are where we hear it, and you always are like, Yeah, bomb tuning, bomb tuning, bomb tuning, bomb tuning.
Wrong half the time.
Wrong half the time, but still.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody really gets it like we do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, you know, obviously, man, I don't want to get, I'll go down a rabbit hole. I get real, you know, about that. I've had a couple bands on tour. I remember we were in Europe. I can't remember what band it was, but they were younger kids, you know, and I think they were tuning down to like G or something, but they were like, you know, we're going to take the bomb thing and do the record. And I was like, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do
Come on now.
No.
Like,
yeah, come on now.
And I, you know, and nowadays, you know, I mean, I think it was more extreme at a different time. You know, it's hard for me to look at it from an outside perspective. I do remember the first time that I really understood it, because I saw Flor twice before I ever joined the band, and I kind of thought they were a mess, to be honest. They needed some gear, but the vibe was there. I mean, everything was in place. The energy was there. The whole, and I mean, I knew that they were really unique people, and I wanted, you know, to at least say hi, you know, and then we just became friends. But I do remember my first practice with them, and I'd been listening to them at that point for a couple of years, and seeing them actually do it, you know, I was like, oh, that's how it is. It's not just a real heavy hand just knocking it like crazy, you know, like
they weren't like, turn around, you can't see this.
No, they actually didn't have tuner pedals at all. They didn't really know. And even leading up into the self-titled record, there was no real science behind any approach to recreating whatever was going on, you know. So like now Flor has a real exact tuning, you know, it's like this and this, and there it is, and that's how it is. There was none of that in place. And so when I came in as a drummer, but mostly from a guitar point of view, the first thing at some point they would chase each other is what it would be. They did like and spent some other talking about this in an interview once, I think for Scion or something, but they, you know, like one person hit the note and they'd be like, yeah, cool, hit it, and he'd go a little flat and they'd push it down. So next thing you know, they're battling with each other, and the tuning just keeps going lower and lower and flatter and flatter. And at some point, I think I just snapped and was like, give me the guitar.
Figure this out.
I took a tuner and was like, that sounds right. Yeah, that's A. And we're going with that. Yeah, from now on, tuners, you know. So
yeah, that gives me anxiety.
A little discipline. Yeah, they needed some discipline, you know.
Yeah, but they needed to not have the discipline to get there in the first place. Like,
for sure. Oh man,
the inspiration comes from the lack of discipline. But like that's a good producer or manager's job, is to know just the right amount of like process and discipline to inject into an artist's life, so that they can kind of keep their shit together.
They had a different approach, man. It was a lot more just whatever happens at that time. You know, there wasn't a lot of drive, or, you know, I wouldn't even say ambition. It was really just if they felt it at the time, they went for it. I guess coming up around Tampa and Tampa bands where everybody's like, you know, like, we're doing this
tight,
you know, it's very tight, forcing it, you know, like you know, just going forward through everything. And so
I never really thought about that as a reaction to the like the very technical kind of death metal that was coming out of Tampa, like still wanting to do something heavy, but to keep it so messy like that as a response to a very different kind of a musical culture.
Yeah, I mean,
intentional or not.
I don't think it was intentional on their part. I think a lot of it was, at least from my point of view, and having gone through the years with them, it was lack of technical know-how on guitars. Really, just, I mean, Steve's a prodigy. He was a death metal prodigy. You know, at a young age, he could rip it, man. I mean, don't get it twisted with the slow riffs and all that. Yeah. No, he'd peel your face. You know, he'd like speed. Yeah, he's got all that on lock. But I remember like them not really knowing like what string gauges, you know, they're like, like whatever, man, we just use, it was really just use whatever's
on the guitar.
Yeah, for sure. And it could have been, you know, I think at the time it was a financial thing too. You know, there wasn't money in there. I had a pretty decent job at that time, so I was able to kind of take
buy instruction,
buy strings, pick up the slack a little bit. So
remember, young listeners, we're talking the pre-YouTube era. think about how much easier.
Damn near pre-internet, man. We barely used the internet then. I mean, I think we just started getting email about that time, I did, like, I hesitantly, I was hesitant to go into I was like, oh, great, I guess I need an email, So,
but we had past guest Francis Roberts said that YouTube is noticeably pushing the progression of players because of their slow down but don't change pitch feature. So people are able to figure out these intensely complicated songs just by slowing them down on YouTube, but still keeping the pitch so that they can play along with them, and then slowly ramping up the speed. But you can learn how to do fucking anything on YouTube.
Oh, anything. For sure. Yeah.
Including
once you see the mechanics, once you see something done, the mechanics of it, and I learned this through BMX, like when you talk about like tricks like the flare, backflip stuff, like, Matt Hoffman was the first dude who did all that in BMX. And it seemed impossible, but when you see it on video, now it's just, and so, for kids when they come up, if that's all they're exposed to, they start at such a higher level already, because of the people who paid the price of, figuring it out, prior to them. And so, YouTube progression. It's in every facet. Everything. Yeah, I fixed the thermostat at this house that I'm renting not too long ago. I was like, oh man, thermostat's not, and I called my landlord. Yeah, I called my landlord who's a friend of mine, and I was like, man, and that's exactly what he said. He goes, oh man, I'll just look it up on YouTube. And I was like, I guess I'll do that too.
I do that too. Yeah.
Looked it up, and like 10 minutes later, I just, YouTube's great. It's the information superhighway at its
the
worst and finest.
That's the good side of it. There are ugly sides for sure, but that's one of the good sides.
Into that dark YouTube, go down, get down in that. All right. So I answered the genealogy, I believe. I answered the genealogy. Okay.
Genealogy.
I mean, then there, and then so I do want to. Is House of Lightning still around or no?
Yeah, I would say so. We've had a few years off. Without getting into too much detail, I dealt with some really crazy health stuff that started in late 2016 that kind of took me out of the physical game for a little bit. And so I'm honestly just in the last couple of weeks starting to get some answers for that. And so, it's, I mean, it is, I'm still here, but there were some periods there where I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be.
Wow.
So it's been,
I'm glad you're still here.
It's been a wild 5 years. Currently, I'm writing material. I have a little setup here and the guitar stays. I've had some periods where I didn't touch it for a while when things were rough, but over the last 2 years of during trying to normalize, recovery or whatever. Writing. I've actually just spoke to Rick the other night about. I have about 9 songs I think I'm going to send to him on a click track. Just rough arrangements, and be like, I think this is the next batch, the next wave of stuff. So.
Awesome.
I intend on. I definitely intend on being out again at some point.
Eric,
sure.
right?
Yes.
You, Rick, and Eric. So it's Rick and Eric are in Torch. You were in Flor, so it's like a Flor Torch.
Well, oh God, fuck you.
That wasn't. Except now you play guitar.
Yeah.
And what are you tuned to for House of Lightning?
E standard.
Yeah, if you're locked in on that Floyd, you better be in E or E flat.
It's just E standard. The first record's in E flat, and then in retrospect, when I listen to it, it feels like I tend to play in major keys a lot. I think I do. I'm not trained at all, so but just I don't know. There's something at some point I was like, man, I just want to be able to grab any guitar off the wall, especially after I've had to fill in the gaps a little bit on a Flor record here or there, due to me being able to get to the studio. No one else could. Yeah. And even with Dove and stuff like that, the low tuning, it just at some point, like, I mean, it just, I don't know, man. There's a certain edge and bite to tuning to just standard Judas Priest, man. Rush. Yep. I just couldn't like.
They did it.
I like hearing. Shit, the Melvins. I mean, if you really want to get down to it, I mean, not like Ozma and Gluey are super, either drop D or standard E. So, just E standard. That's I keep it pretty simple with that, and just
E standard.
It allows me to be more articulate with chords and things of that, instead of dealing around like some low tuning and I don't know. I think a lot of times like lower tuning bands, you almost have to like be in the scene and almost have an ear training after years, because I think to the outside ear, like your everyday average listener hears something that's super tuned, like, and they don't quite know. I mean, they know it's like, it physically feels like something, but I think a lot of the lower tuning stuff, it tends to, you almost either have to be a musician or like really involved in the scene for years, to be, I don't know. It's just my
for that
take
to
on it.
turn you on.
Yeah,
No, I think you're right, and I think that plays out in kind of the scene and the bands that are in it. Meaning, we put on a show with bands that play low. 70% of the audience is going to be dudes in other bands.
Oh, for sure.
from the area. That's just kind of how it works out, as it turns out. And I wonder if there's something, like you said, more to that, because we have our ears are trained for it, so we're used to listening to it.
I've seen
to the average person.
And I think inside venues, like in smaller indoor venues, I think it translates easier. I think as venues get larger and bands get larger, I came to this conclusion. I think around 2005, I saw High on Fire. I've seen them. God, I don't even know how many times. On top of we've done tons of shows with them. Excuse me. I saw them outdoor. Well, I saw them. Like I said, I've seen them everywhere, all kinds of venues. But I saw them outdoors one time in Orlando, and it may have just been, I mean, they play great every time. I've never seen them not play well. But it felt like it was like there was a sonic, like there was almost no bite to it, and it was like the sound just is in such a low frequency, and it's just shooting over people. It's just disappearing into this mush to a certain degree, even though obviously Matt is sharp as hell, and the band's really super focused. There was something about that. I was like, man, I think it's just they're tuned to a low thing, and they weren't. I think this was 2005, so they had a few records out, but they weren't this massive Grammy award-winning rock act, that packed out on their own.
That still throws me off. Grammy award-winning.
Yeah, good man. I hope their guarantees went through the roof. I hope all that. Yeah, Matt's been doing it forever. I love Matt.
Yeah, they do. Their guarantees definitely went up.
Yeah. I mean, you should. I mean, Matt has dedicated his life to his craft.
Completely.
In good times and bad. I met him in the late 90s, man, and he's always going for it. So.
I wonder. I mean, in the end, sound is all physics. So I mean, someone could probably explain to you why when this the average frequency drops and you're outside, depending on how you deal with the PA, you could just lose something. There's no walls and ceiling to vibrate. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I don't know physics, but and sound physics in particular. But I'm sure there's something to that. All right. Agreed. So music.
Speaking of music,
listening to it.
Yeah, let's listen to some
All right,
music.
what's first?
Okay, first is I got it. Wang Wen.
Oh, I'm just screen sharing.
You're just screen sharing tonight.
I'll pull the page up so you can see it.
So Wang Wen. Wow.
Spell this? Oh, we're gonna see it.
Yeah, there you go.
Will I see it on the screen here?
Can you see it?
I do see it. Yep.
So you said they're from China?
Yeah, it says they're from China. Wow.
I love that cover.
That's pretty. That's pretty incredible, actually. That we're in a day and age where a band from China can find you.
I know. I mean, a couple episodes ago we ran across a label run out of Malaysia.
One of those two.
The most incredible series of album art covers. Like just page after page scrolling through the labels offering, and like every cover was more ridiculous and awesome than the last. This one's just like mountains.
This artwork's great.
So cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say they have really nice artwork.
So cool. All right, well let's listen to this music then.
From China. What part of China did they say?
Dalian? I don't know.
I see it.
Dalian. Yep. I don't
Founded
know
in 1999. Damn, they've been doing this.
Hardest working indie bands.
And this thing just came out in October.
In China.
Wow.
Damn, they've been a band for 21 years.
Oh, it says indie band.
22 years.
Good. I like it when we get things that maybe aren't normal.
Aren't heavy.
Or aren't heavy.
Aren't just heavy.
All right, let's do it.
Wow.
So we're a minute in.
No, I really like it. I mean,
It says it's post-rock, so are we going to get vocals?
I'm reading that this is their 11th record, and I'm going to have to say it sounds great from what I've heard so far. Yeah, I was going to say they definitely got the production.
This is interesting. So it was
pleasing listen so far.
Recorded at GT Studios / Dalian Urban Music Center. I wonder if there's like a state-sponsored recording facility or something. There's just never China's a huge country. Obviously, they have art and music. It's never occurred to me to look into what is the music scene for indie rock metal in China.
No, not at all. It's interesting. I'm really liking this.
Yeah, I do too.
Let's listen to some more.
I mean,
there's a lot going on in the background.
Yeah, I mean, this has come up a few times in the wake of listening to the new King Gizzard records a bunch of times, and is that there are some notes in there, and they probably have some instruments in their repertoire that don't just use the 12-note Western scale, and it's really interesting to hear a composition that's mostly kind of what we're used to, but then a little bit not sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. It seemed like they sort of had one basic kind of rhythm going over the top, but then like there was all sorts of crazy things going on in the background, like different too.
A lot of mood.
They changed.
Yeah, a lot
of mood in there. Yeah, a lot of mood.
We're not going to do anything justice in listening for a couple minutes, but look at the track lengths. I mean, these are long compositions too.
Eight, 7, 9 minutes.
Songs.
Yeah, the shortest song is 5 and almost 6 minutes. 5.
I'm gonna have to dig into this. I really like this.
I am too. Whoever sent this in, if it was the band, thank you.
Yeah,
but this is awesome. And is this part, like, if you listen, is this part of a scene? Is there more? Is there more of this?
Yeah, exactly.
Who are
post-rock bands in China?
Who are the other bands?
I've often wondered if there's a whole other underground of something that we have no clue exists.
No clue. I hope there is.
There kind of is in certain circles. Like I love, I mean, it kind of is in the rap circles, but the jukin stuff, like Memphis Jukin.
Yes.
Like the dance stuff that revolves around the music. And it's like, I mean, it's indigenous to Memphis. I mean, man, it's like and it's so varied and nuanced, you know, and the battles, and like they have like, they call, juking and turfing, you know, there's like so many, like, you know, it's like its own scene, and I found that really fascinating. You know, I was like, this is.
I remember the first time I saw that, there was a guy, one of me and my wife's like favorite reality shows. We don't watch a lot of them.
So you think you can dance?
So you think you can dance? And they had a guy on the juking,
Bro, so you think you can dance was the reason I got TiVo.
Oh, was it?
Not even kidding.
Oh man, it's the best. I love that
first
show.
Like maybe the first 4 or 5 seasons, shit, I was addicted to it. Yeah.
Well, I think there's one vein of reality TV that I love, and that is people doing something that they're really good at.
Yeah.
that you don't get to see every day.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And I love to watch dancing, you know, or dancers.
Yeah.
I'd take more of that. I mean, you know, that show itself gets corrupted over time, but other variations of that.
It's still pretty good.
I
haven't watched it in years, but
it
kind of like took a dive, but it's back up.
Well, I don't know why it needs to be a competition other than that's what drives viewership. Yeah. That always boggles my mind. Like, you make this show like Master Chef, right, with adults, and you murder one chef every week and kick him out and send him home and tell them they're good, but they're not fucking good enough.
Yeah.
And then you go, let's do this concept, but with kids. You go, but then you're not going to change the format of it.
On national TV.
You're going to crush their dreams.
A kid's soul once a week. Like, why can't every kid just be on every episode?
Do they have that for Chef?
Master
like
Chef
Chef
Junior. Yeah, it's on Fox.
man.
Gordon Ramsay hosts it. Master Chef
God.
Junior. Yeah.
Dear God.
Send one of you fuckers home every week because your food's not good enough. It's like, really? Do we have to do that to them?
Really?
Yeah. We do apparently.
Hopefully those kids will be all right. Not that little.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of Jukin, like here in the Bay Area, we had hyphy, and that was a very localized kind of hip hop dance scene that then kind of blew up and went much more national eventually. But for a long time, that was just hip hop in the Bay Area, and then it escaped the underground. And there's always been a pretty rich underground hip hop scene in the Bay Area, and parts of it will leak into the world. But hip hop is still very much about like, hey, listen to my tape. Here's my handing physical, listen to my thing and check it out, and stuff still circulates that way.
Not in Florida, bro.
No.
No, it's SoundCloud.
There is definitely a SoundCloud era.
Oh yeah.
And I have not gone very much down
rappers.
the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
but I do have some Bay Area favorites. Like anytime Lyrics Born puts something out, I'm gonna listen to it. I don't care how long it's been since the last time I've listened to Lyrics Born. That's
Pigeon John. I think was Bay Area, and so was Gift of Gab.
Too Short. Oaktown 357.
Too Short.
Taking you back to '89, bro.
Yeah.
Taking you back,
Well, shit. It's the back bar show we played with fucking who was it from that crew that was on E40.
No, E40.
So this venue in San Jose has 3 rooms, and one of them is like a little 100 cap long skinny room with a bar next to it, and there's a window, and on the other side you can see from stage. You're 5 feet away from it, and then on the other side of that window there's another stage, and we were playing, and then E40's playing, like he's like looking at through the window at us while we were playing, like 10 feet away from each other, like 2 completely different crowds. It was a wild night. It was fun though.
That was a fun one. Yeah, for sure. I actually saw Too Short on a documentary recently.
Yeah.
He's a producer, and he's produced a lot of shit that I had no idea he even produced. And I can't remember what it was. So. But apparently he's pretty.
All right.
More music.
What else? What's next?
Okay. First, you got to share it again, though.
Oh, I will. We'll get there
next
first.
Next is Jimbo.
Jimbo.
This is going to be goofy.
Okay.
So Jimbo from Toronto.
There's, as we learn when we listen to Kenny David Fresno, or if that was his full name.
Yeah.
There is room in the world
there's totally room
for
in the
Goofy.
world for Goofy. All right. Let's do it.
All right.
From Toronto, home of Rush.
Mama Wawa.
And mark my words, that's the sounds of the barbarians pounding at the gates.
Some fun rock and roll.
All right. Yeah.
So what I like about it is, if we can believe this picture here, these are young people.
Young kids, man.
Oh, quite. Yeah.
Much younger than you would typically hear. It's us. It's us like 40 to 50-year-olds throwing back to the 70s and wishing they were still here.
Yeah.
And Greta Van Fleet.
I'm guessing these dudes are 22 and under.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I like that. I mean, I'm not going to pick that up and buy it. That's all well-worn territory. But you get in a band, you put some songs like that together, and you probably find yourself at some point, find your voice. And
it sounded a lot better than any of the songs I probably were involved with at that age.
That age.
Shit. Like props to them for having like a legit sounding record and some, and some riffs. And like, as soon as it started, I was like, hey, all right.
All
like,
right.
Like if I just walked in some random bar, and this band I didn't know were playing, I'd be like, all right.
I'd totally be into this.
Yeah.
If this was on the stage at a bar and I was sitting there drinking a beer, I would be tapping my foot, and I'd love this.
And especially if there weren't a bunch of dad boners like me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like how the kids are doing it.
I mean, I would call them kids because they're probably born in 2000 or something.
Yeah,
good for them, man. Yeah, keep it up.
completely.
And they're from Toronto, which is a cool town. I like that.
Yeah, I actually really like it when you do kind of that, just that fuzzy bass line in the background. The guitar is just doing a little something, and then the singer's right over the top with just that. Dun, 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 dun.
I mean,
you can just count it,
Yeah,
so easy.
JD likes music. How do you like music that you can count?
I don't mean count. I mean,
a main feature.
I mean, you can just like bob your head, and you don't have to think about it.
Correct. And then take me to see Drive Like Jehu.
It's not a challenging listen. It's actually an easy.
No,
it's not easy listening, but it's an easy listen. Yeah, anybody, any rock fan could probably get on that.
Well, no,
but it's true.
I'm just sharing as we pull up news. Do you want to hear more of that? I like.
Oh no, I was going to listen to a little bit more of that.
Okay, I was going to say. Well, you can play it. I got the gist.
Just play it. It's cool. It's groovy. Yeah. I like it. Groovy. I just call it groovy.
Those guys could probably make a living writing songs like that and then selling them to like B and C, just streaming only movie producers who just need like tracks to put behind a scene at a bar or in a car chase or whatever, and don't want to pay for for known music. That could fit into so many situations.
Is this their only release that's on that page?
Oh, let's see.
Or is it? I mean, because if this is like their first real outing, good for them, man.
Like, doesn't look like it's their
first. They have some,
but these are all singles. I think.
Dear God, looks like they got a box set full of singles.
I know, right? Yeah, there's a ton of singles. So I think this could be like the first LP.
Well, that one's only 3 songs.
Yeah, that's only 3 songs.
So, I mean, this is the way a lot of bands do it now because
EPs,
there's no label involved. There's no cycle. There's just write some songs, record them, put it out on Bandcamp, and move on with your day.
I personally hate the hype build-up idea that, like the band releases, I guess a record label knows what they're doing. I'm not a record label, but I only really know from experience with the last Flor record, they started releasing singles in June or in January, and then it's like this build up to this supposed to be this monster release date, and it just seems like it almost seems like by the time it comes out, I don't know, maybe we're just in a different age, social media. I think for me, I just felt like press the record, don't say anything about it, and then drop it, and then just put everything you can behind it. And I think that catches people more, at least I would be if I walked in a record store, my favorite band had a new record, I'd be like, damn. And then, next thing I'm telling all my friends,
and don't force this artificial weight. If you have a prolific artist, I've gotten deep with Trevor Church from Haunt and Beastmaker on this. He was even involved in a small label, and the dude is just a music-making machine. He can write and record 5 albums in a year. And even the mid-sized label that he was on is like, whoa, slow down, let's give it a year or 2 years. And he's just like, no, I'm done with that. I'm going to write it, record it, and I'm going to fucking put it out, and then I'm going to write and record the next one. And it's not up to me whether people want to consume all that or not. I'm going to give it to them, and if they want it, it's there for them to have. Yeah. And it's really worked well for him.
I understand the 2-year cycle, but it's I don't know. I think like if you can do it, an album a year is great. I mean, shit, look at the bands in the 70s that were throwing out records every 6 months, I think if you have it in you, if you're some kind of song machine and your band can fire it off, man, like why stop because the process,
Yeah.
like the cycle, which seems to be like 2 years seems to be a record cycle now, if
Yep.
not a little more. Obviously now it's all twisted due to the world being on fire from a pandemic.
Yeah. Well, and even above the level of Haunt, like a King Gizzard, like, has it hurt them that they can put out 5 records in a year? Doesn't seem to have at all. It seems to have built a pretty incredible legend for a weird underground like psych band from
Australian psych
Australia
band.
who could come to San Francisco and sell out the Warfield probably 4 nights in a row now. So I don't know. Do you? That's what Trevor finally figured out. Is me wasn't waiting for this album cycle, so I'm just going to take charge.
There is something to be said though about quality over quantity though, because like I like Guided by Voices a lot, but let's say Guided by Voices has 1,000 songs.
Mm-hmm.
There's about 200 of those I think are really good.
Yeah.
Like that's still a lot of songs that are really good, but there's a whole lot to sift through there that's like, all this didn't need to be out there.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. At least
I can't write like that anyway, so I don't have any business really talking. I mean, if somebody offered me a suitcase full of cash right now and said finish a record in a week, I'd be like, I'm sorry, like I
can't do it.
I don't think I can.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. Read those lyrics.
Lower
Do
up
they
a little,
sound
please.
familiar?
this is a cover, isn't it? Of
Making my way downtown.
town.
Walking fast, faces past, and I'm homebound.
Let's listen.
Yeah, I want to hear.
Is
Oh, wait,
that
no.
Carly Rae Jepsen?
Yes.
That's what I thought it was. And I missed you.
And I missed
Dun,
you.
dun, dun. I have
No,
children.
wait,
I
is
know
that
this
Carly
song.
Rae? I don't think it's Carly Rae. Maybe it is.
No, this is Sarah Carlton.
Sarah Carlton? Is that it?
God, listen. Welcome to the latest episode of Listen to Middle-Aged Men.
Carly
Try to
Rae
Re-
Jepsen had that.
Vanessa Carlton.
Okay, yeah. Carly Rae
Yes.
Jepsen had
Call Me Maybe. Yeah.
She had another awesome song though. God, I can't remember the name of it.
She's really good. And that
all
record,
that song, all that. It's God, I can't remember, man. It's like one of the guys that I want to say that used to work with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis wrote some song for God. It was great.
Well, if we had Santos on, he could tell us.
Santos is a huge, and actually, what sidetrack when you were talking about the Flor process, what it reminded me a lot of was our conversation with Santos about him and Aaron making Old Man Gloom music. That it was and still is this very organic.
Organic?
I just made up a new word. Organic, kind of like unmanaged process
Chaos.
of just sort of like just
Controlled
kind of
chaos.
not improvisation completely, but just sort of taking the guardrails off and just going with
There's a
stuff.
lot to be said when you land when a group of dudes in a room when something that inspiration hits and you're all on that vibe. There's a lot to be said for that to be able to snatch it out of air right then and
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to force that.
Yeah, it is. I don't want to play that because I don't want to get a copyright strike on YouTube. That'll be
for Vanessa Carlton.
that'll be our second takedown notice.
Yeah.
The first one belonging to Kvelertak.
Yeah.
Which is the only reason I don't like them right now. But that wasn't their choice.
Nah, they probably have there's some licensing streaming thing.
Exactly.
Oh, there is, but they get the money. We don't monetize, but even if we did, if there were ads, they get attribution and they collect the revenue, but they like to control the environment that their music is played in, which is totally the owner's prerogative, but whatever. I just thought it was funny that the band, my favorite record of last year is the one band that made us take
shit down.
Take it down.
Yeah. Thanks for buying the record. Take it down.
YouTube makes it so easy though. Literally YouTube's algorithm will say like, we found the music in this section and that's the music. So press this button and we'll just mute it. And then you can post your video if you want, or press this button and we'll replace it with unlicensed, with music that doesn't require a license. They make it so simple to get around that stuff. So they're trying. I don't know. YouTube is trying to be good. They just don't always get there. All right.
Did you have anything for the merch table tonight?
I don't have shit. I just started a new job a week and a half ago, and I can barely think straight right now. In that beginning of a new job chaos.
Do you buy merch? Do you buy T-shirts, albums,
Records?
depends. Currently, not so much. Very seldom in these in the last few years, very seldom. I did buy. I bought a Fang shirt from their web store.
Oh, nice.
About 2 or 3 years ago. I was like, yeah, I had one I made in high school, and it disappeared at some point. My old bass player, Kathy, sent me her ass suck shirt from high school. That I was like, yo, what are you doing with that ass suck shirt? I need that ass suck shirt. So. I had one, but I gave it away to my friend Chris, who lives in Erie, Pennsylvania, probably 15, 16 years ago. I don't even know if he's really into ASIC, but I think we talked about them one time, and I wasn't wearing this shirt. I was like, here, bro, yeah. I give a lot of stuff away, and I actually sold the majority of my records off. I kept I had probably 300-400, and I think I sold off all but 20. There were a few things that I was like, yeah, I can't live without this. Yeah, my nausea record, stuff like that. Kept all of that. Yeah, things like
was
Ass Chapel. I bet Ass Chapel. I would imagine you were.
I know of them. I might be friends with somebody in that band, but I never saw them. But
you were in the orbit, in the right part of
Gainesville.
the country.
They're from Gainesville, I believe.
I think so.
Or Ass Chapel from Gainesville.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Even back then though, in the night, man, it was a little outside of that. A lot of the No Idea, that wave of bands, and that even though Flor was on that label at one point, I wasn't really into much of the music, and we were looked at differently back then. It was almost like, I don't know. I remember talking to a couple different drummers even back then, and a couple of people now that they have definitely expressed interest that they would be into it now, but back then. I remember man, I want to do a band, and I got this idea, and they just looked at me like, you're fucking crazy, dude. I don't want anything to do with that, and that was kind of that was really common, Yeah. So the people that I've played with often, or at least since, I think that's why things stay in the circle almost to a certain degree, within. There was a small, core group of people, and it seems to have stayed in that, within that orbit of those people who, we were down with it early.
Check back in with them, because most of them got older, mellowed, slowed down, stopped being so aggro about everything.
I may know somebody in that band, but I can say I've never owned a record. I've never listened to them.
Gotcha.
We hadn't either.
We hadn't either
until we tripped over it, because Christian from Horse said something about them being one of his all-time favorite bands that nobody knows about, and then
I don't know where the hell they are from. I don't think they're from Gainesville.
I don't remember. I think they were Atlanta. They were to me, they were the South. So you said Florida. You guys know each other, right? I know it doesn't work that way.
What's weird is the one band that we didn't really know back then, but we were somewhat enamored with, at least even before I joined Flor, I used to have really big conversations with Anthony about Harvey Milk. And my friend Chief was a dude in Athens. He lives in Austin now, but he was the guy who released their first 7-inches, probably in '93. And I had a couple of their 7-inches in '93, and for some reason I don't know, I just put them in a case. I was, when you start being really into what you do, you become kind of insular, and I'm guilty of that. I'm a fan of a lot of stuff, but I'm always in my orbit, this orbit here,
making
doing this
stuff.
thing. Yeah, kind of on my own wave, Man,
so if you were going to put what was the last album you were listening to?
Today.
Today.
Yeah. What was the last music you chose to listen to?
I've been really shot out on a record by Val Young called Seduction. It's an R&B record from mid-19, I think it came out in 85. Oh. She was a backup singer for the Gap Band and such, but she was in Rick James' orbit. I'm unironically a massive Rick James fan, and Stone City and all that. And so she did a record, Seduction in 1985. I love it. I love that song. God, what's the other one? If You Should Ever Be Lonely, Mind Games. I'm really shot out on that record right now.
Wow.
And I'm a bit nocturnal. My days are upside down, and so and I'm I think it just started as a kid, man. I'm an only child. I spent a lot of time by myself and just sitting in front of speakers. And I love a lot of, R&B like that, the electro stuff that, electro, I guess more the electro funk, that anything that was probably on Soul Train between like 78 and like 83, is like right up my alley.
You dropped a bomb on me and you were like,
bro, I was Gap Band all day. Yeah. I saw Charlie Wilson, probably 6-7 years ago at this park in St. Pete. It was incredible. When rock bands are like, man, we're loud, we're heavy, the bass is really hitting you. No shit. Not until you go see like, Charlie Wilson from the Gap Band and then you know what bass is because it's 30,000 people and it is rattling a field. I mean, it's incredible. It's cool. I love it. Yeah, I love shows like that too. There's no attitude, there's like it's grown folks hour, everybody's there, like it's a no snitch policy. Like everybody, it's man, it's just a good time. Yeah.
I still say the heaviest show I ever saw was Fishbone. Without a doubt.
I saw Fishbone once, yeah.
Literally roof tiles falling off of the ceiling of the venue because of the combined energy and volume of the people in the crowd and the music that was being played.
Fishbone was the best live. So good live.
All right.
Val Young. Yeah, I'm like, sorry, I'm going back to that. Yeah, I think I've been really into Val Young. Listen to the Susie and the Banshees record a lot. Juju.
Oh, nice.
The song Monitor, the opening riff on that, I was like, damn, I wish I wrote that.
Yeah. I've been kind of feeling a lot of like new wavy, gothy.
I've been doing so much shoegaze lately.
You've been on a shoegaze path. I don't know. I'm all over the place.
New gaze, as they call it.
Really? Yeah, I'm all over the place. Yeah, I was making dinner the other night at like 3 a.m. with damn Anti-Semics. Anti-Semics record. I was like, damn man, I'm getting my D beat on it.
Nice.
3 a.m. Like, really, when I start leaning towards stuff like that, man, any D beat shit, I'm like, yep, that's my feel right there. All day, just run with it. And so.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, you have time for 2 more songs?
Man, I'm here, bro. Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Let's go overtime.
So what do we got now?
What do we have? Wild Tinderbox.
Okay.
Oh Lord.
Back for the attack.
Who did this art?
I don't know.
Oh, it's kind of cool though.
Yeah, I
mean, it's comic booky.
All right, let's listen. I'm not gonna say anything. Let's listen.
Yeah. Well, you know what I just noticed though?
What?
They have one review by a supporter, and look who it's by.
Oh, of course.
Oh, I can't see.
His name is Bucky Brown.
Bucky Brown.
In this like kind of very tight knit, highly insulated, like modern stoner rock scene. There's a group of tastemakers, reviewers. Bucky works at a label called Ripple Music that puts out a ton of releases and kind of like
contributes to the Doom charts.
Yeah, and there's like a charting system called the Doom charts, and Bucky is.
You are blowing my mind right now. I know none of this.
Oh, you're fine,
bro.
All right, Bucky. Let's see.
I know about the obelisk, but that's about it.
Yeah. So I mean, JJ also contributes to the Doom charts, but Bucky and
I know JJ a little bit. Yeah.
They're much more into this just like throwback 70s revival stoner, into the desert, into the kind of Queens of the Stone Age and kind of everything that orbits
Desert
around
Sessions
that.
Vibe, yeah. Man's
Definitely.
Ruin.
Lots of Well, not even. Yeah. Why do I have a song stuck in my head? Back for the Attack was like a Dawkins record.
Sure.
Wasn't I swear there was like a.
I'm with you on that, bro. I think the only Dawkins song, the only Dawkins song I know is fucking Dream Warriors, bro.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's it.
Oh man.
Who played is George Lynch is their guitar
Lynch.
player, right? See, everybody talks, man. George Lynch is like some dude, and I mean, he seems cool. I've seen interviews with him, but I don't know the first.
I just remember.
Can't name a riff. I don't know.
What was it? Lynch Mob. I just remember he had this guitar, like a peak MTV that was like a skeleton, like all kind of crumbled up into a guitar shape.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, well, that's kind of badass.
That's kind of
badass. Because my 13-year-old brain was like, all right. That seems tough.
So this band did this in one day.
Yeah,
I think that's
really?
pretty cool, actually. Yeah, that's incredible. on June 6th. Yeah, I like when a band can just say the date they did it. We did it.
Yeah, we recorded it on June 6th. Well,
Yeah,
it is only one song.
Okay, it's one
Let me make
track.
Sure it's
okay.
not a whole album.
It looks like they have other stuff. No,
Okay.
is this all the same band on the right here? I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Discography. Okay. Yeah, they have a handful.
They have other stuff.
I feel like this is going to be a hold my tongue moment for me, so I'm just going to stop for now.
You think we're going to get some Yarling?
No, I'll just play. Just play.
Okay, let's do it.
Wild Tinderbox.
That's a not for me.
That's a song.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give that a not for me as well.
Yeah. I recognize the artist name, Steven Yoyada. I don't know where from, but I definitely know I've seen him do other stuff. All right.
Any input?
Any thoughts?
Any thoughts?
Again, not for me, but there's a lot of. I don't listen to a whole lot of rock, and so I mean, I'm versed in it because I've been in and out of it over the years. Man, I hope they're having a good time. That's all I can really say. Yeah, I have a ton of material that a lot of people weren't into, and I've been on the receiving end of a very not receptive audience more than once. So,
I feel your pain.
A lot.
Yeah.
And so
I got to introduce you to
keep doing your thing. That's all I can say.
If you love what you're doing,
yeah.
I mean, that's really all that matters.
Yeah, no, we need to introduce you to Jem from the Australian band Dead.
I've toured
with
Dead.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, you
I was just going to say, I bet
you toured. Actually, you know what? He mentioned
House of Lightning. Yeah, House of Lightning took. I wouldn't say we took them, but we traipsed across the country together. I love them very much. There was actually one of the best times I've ever had in all my touring. I can't say enough good stuff about Jim and Jace and Dead and all that. I love them a lot. I wish I could see, I would do it again in a second. The summer that we spent in the van, I would do that in any damn day.
They're itching to come back, and he, unlike most musicians in other parts of the world, in the underground, they had a really great experience coming to the U.S. Yeah. And so their view of the world is that this is the place where you want to tour. Everybody around here is trying to get to Europe or somewhere else, but they're like, no, the U.S. was it for us. They
were great every night. We House of Lightning, we played. Some shows. God, I can't remember. There's a tiny little town that's south of Austin. It's in the Marfa, Texas.
Marfa, Texas,
where it's kind of like a little artist community.
Oh, interesting.
No, it's
don't.
Not cool. It's not. No, at least to us. It wasn't like belligerent, but it was like, we played a bar in the middle of nowhere. Everybody just ended up sitting outside. It wasn't like, these people from Australia and from Florida came to play our town, we should go party with them. Yeah. None of that. None of that. I don't even know if we spoke to anybody that lived there. Like, I think the bar guy was it, bro, you can play here or whatever. It was okay. So Dead, they were great every single time. I'd never heard one complaint the whole time. When it was good, man, we were having a great time. And when it was not a great night, we still were having a good time.
Well, and the reason I thought of them is because that's their whole ethos. Like, naming the label We Empty Rooms, to me, is just like, that's fantastic. I love it. I want to consume everything you do.
They were great. Yeah, they were great.
I ordered a big box of shit from the label too, so he's gonna wait until there's one more Dead record that's ready to go. Nice. I got a big stack of their music and then some of the other bands that they put out headed my way someday.
Nice. Yeah, I've done a lot of tours and stuff like that. I think that was only a few times have I been like on a tour where we had to share the vehicle or whatever, but with them it was just two of them and it was only three of us. And man, we seamed up easily. I mean, even the first minute I met them in LA, actually on the street in front of the Roxy the night Torch played. I went to LA a few days earlier. We were switching bass players at that time for tour, which Ryan Haft, who is sound man, engineer, he actually recorded, John Nunez recorded the last Elsa Lightning record, but Ryan ended up touching up. I think I recorded the vocals with him. We mixed it with him, but he's been Flor sound man, Torch's sound man, plays guitar in that band Wrong. He was in a guitar player in Capsule.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Ryan played bass for us for a little while. But yeah, we've all, we had to get it together, unfortunately they were understanding enough too, that we were in a transition as a unit at that time. But yeah, it was great. I love touring with them.
That's funny. Awesome. Yeah. I assume somewhere in the back of my head I knew that information, and that's why I brought it up, because I know we talked about it when Jem was on.
Yeah, I think we did talk about it.
But that's funny that it just popped out.
Yep.
Yeah.
The brain. All right. Last one. Is this? Am I on
the
right thing here?
One, and this is the Bandcamp pick.
Oh, okay.
So this is not one that was sent to us, but sometimes we'll just like grab something. Bandcamp writes great articles about scenes or just makes recommendations. This was a Bandcamp pick of like an album of the day. It sounded interesting because a band I've never heard of, Liars. The Apple Drop is their 10th album.
Jesus.
But it also says, but for 2/3 of its members, it's their first. So,
so somebody got fired.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's my man switching it up. Yeah, it's all right.
But it sounded interesting because it says it's the band's prettiest album. Eerily plucked strings, unexpected falsettos, like the bar sing along, high register piano keys that twinkle in the background. So it sounded interesting. Sounded something that
this song right here.
I like falsetto.
Yeah, Sequoir is the song. Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh wait, you're not supposed to be doing it.
That's right.
Okay, here we go.
He can't hear it. I'm in.
They tell me I'm a juiced up, worn out, sad sack. I can't figure out what I'm trying to do here, except stand around and be a dick. But for God's sake, I won't lie. I'll say it all and I'll be right. It can't be helped, it can't be scrubbed out. From the floorboards to the black lights.
I like this. This is cool.
Wow.
Oh, and coincidentally, they're from Australia.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Interesting.
That was. I mean, I don't feel like I have a sense for what they are.
Kind of.
I'm in though, man. You know what? I think in the right setting, even just the instrumental side of it was pretty cool. And
yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah, they had me at that opening synth line for sure. I was like, oh
yeah.
Shit.
All right, so pick another song. Pick another song title. I'm curious to hear if you start a new song. Is it something complete?
Leisure Ward.
Okay, Leisure War. Here we go.
Feel that.
Prediction: whoever is the brainchild behind this band is also the drummer.
Do you think
I was actually going to say I think it's a singer, that it's somebody that plays maybe drums. I don't know. No, there's something definitely I can understand maybe why he's went through members, because it seems, I mean, even that, as simple as that little intro there, it's like, okay, yeah, this isn't just standard 4 on, like I think it's a little little heady, I guess.
It's obtuse rhythmically. In that last song, there was something going on that was very different. It was a dropped beat that slipped in there every once in a while. Like someone, maybe not a drummer, but somebody writing songs with a keen sense of rhythm first.
Sure.
Liars, the apple drop. This is crazy. I need to.
It sounds like he has to play with some, dare I say, high level players. You know, adventurous people. You know.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Or it's like a couple of monkeys and a keyboard, and they just they just tracked enough stuff, and then they cut out the parts that make sense, because it's like almost that It's almost that crazy. But
I really like it. It's cool.
I did too.
I'm gonna have to dig into this.
I like the synth work on it was great.
That's a bookmark. That's a pizza night bookmark is what that is. Completely. That's like throw that on while we're doing something else so that we can hear all the colors at different points, but maybe not necessarily have to focus on it the whole time, because that might I don't know, that might hurt me.
Yeah.
But no, it was cool. That was really cool.
It reminded me of something.
I couldn't
place it.
I don't listen to I've never listened to enough kind of like indie orbiting music to have reference points for that kind of stuff. So to me, it's all out there.
It was definitely like an early 2000s kind of indie electro band that it's in my head, but I can't
give you some time.
I can't make it cohesive.
Did you ever think of the name of that producer?
Oh, Sylvia Massey.
Sylvia Massey.
Look at that.
Just came to me.
I knew it started with it. Yeah. Did it really? Did you look it up?
No, right when you said that, it just
Oh, that's like a called shot moment right there.
Damn.
Sylvia Massey.
Speaking of not being able to remember shit. Well, and then like
I find her very interesting. I don't know her. I've never met her, but I've watched a ton of her mixing with the Masters series and things like that. And I'm not really an engineer. I mean, I play a heavy ear in the studio, you know, and you know, I'll ask for things to be knobs to be turned in a certain direction, you know, to get to where we need to be. But I like her. She seems cool.
Yeah, she seems really cool.
She seems really cool. She actually seems to pull a lot out of people, you know, like may push you in a comfort zone. I did watch, like I said, mixing with the master scene. There was a recent one that she had done. She did a Melbourne song on it, and song I hadn't heard. I don't know it at all, but she broke it down. She was like, everything she did, you know, to get this monstrosity, you know, track out, and it was really incredible to watch her work. She was on this massive board. She was like, okay, so I did this, and I muted this, and then I pulled this fade up, and then magic, you know, fucking magic, you know.
Yeah.
And she seems, I find her entertaining and interesting.
And I'm fascinated by.
She's worked on a ton of records.
Oh, she has, and
Prince,
I'm fascinated by
Prince,
studio wizards, like people who just own that space, really great engineers, and just watching their like workflow, like just how the process to me is absolutely fascinating. It was a dream come true to get in the studio with Billy Anderson, just to watch him work, just to see to think of the legacy of records that he put out, and then to think of how he developed this process, and then to try and drag stories out of him about some of my favorite records that he's worked on, and kind of the
a good engineer who has friends that play music in that circle. Enough can't be said for having somebody accessible within your own circle that is good. John Nunez that plays guitar and Torch, you know, he was bass and now he's guitar. Incredible engineer. Ryan Haft, we're all in, you know, they're in that orbit, in the Miami orbit. Great engineers. I wish I would have known them at a much younger age. I wish I would have had access to somebody like that, say when I was, you know, 17, 18, 19, trying to slug it out in the first studio experience, you know, and having somebody really guide you through it. It unfortunately, it took me till, you know, I was about 23. The guitar player in Asa, Steve Heritage, worked at Morrisound, the home of death metal recordings in Tampa. And he was the first guy I ever worked with in a studio where, you know, I'd run a guitar pass and he would just stop, hit it again, go back, you know, and he's like, double it, you know, doubling, just, you know, you need someone to guide you through those first couple of experiences, you know, because you know, most people don't know the process, you know.
Yeah, and when you're in a real deal studio, burning your money or somebody else's money or whatever, as opposed to like the home experience or kind of the DIY experience that a lot of young people start with. Like, you don't realize the jump up in kind of like pressure and I mean, it's some people
Magnifies
love it.
any issue you have is magnified 100 times.
Yeah,
in
and
a
it can be
studio
terrifying.
situation.
And you're, unless you're doing, you know, full band takes, you're like performing in front of everyone, and everyone gets their chance to listen to everyone else and go like, you know, that was interesting, but. And you just have to you have to develop whatever the in-studio relationship is going to be between the band and the engineers, like settle on it and work. But it is really stressful. I don't get much more stressed out than right before going into the studio, regardless of the preparation that went in before it, because it's just like there's a moment of performance.
It's always rolling the dice.
Yeah, captured
the end
forever.
product is the end product is always rolling the dice. At some point though, I got over that and I was willing to just throw money at shit to get like like I was like, no, this is not right, you know. And so we just
for sure. But
even it's done.
I even worry like the part that gets into your head. I thought of this with the whole Simone Biles at the Olympics thing. What if I never get it? Like, what if I try this take 1,000 times and I still can't get it.
Still didn't nail it.
Yeah. And it's like,
call it a day and go back the next day until you do.
Until you do.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
you're
absolutely.
gonna get in there and do that until you can make it.
Yeah.
If we go broke, at least we tried. And that's kind of how I always look at it, you know, which is just you do it over and over until you nail it. And then, you know, and if, you know, no half stepping, bro.
And there's also no chance I'm going to break my neck if I fuck it up. So you know, the lower degree of danger.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, what do we have? Well, this is so usually we wrap up with one question, but I don't know. Do you have a hometown? And if so, what's your favorite? What would you consider to be your favorite hometown band or favorite hometown bands?
Of all time, not
of all time.
Current,
yeah, like when you were younger, or what, you know.
Yeah,
whatever.
I would say. Well, my hometown is definitely the town I live in now, Winter Haven. But you know, I was pretty immersed in Tampa scene. I would say as far as my favorite band from here in Winter Haven specifically would probably be that band I mentioned earlier, EBS. Because they were they were only a few years older than me, but they were the band playing shows in Tampa, you know, like, you know, they were like, you know, really doing it, you know.
They showed you that you could do it.
Yeah, I was already moving towards it. I was in a band prior to really meeting them. I was in a band with a guy named Brandon Butler, who ended up being in this band. He was in tons of bands. This band called Canyon, this band Boys Life, and Farewell Band. It's a Boys Life for, you know, from Kansas City area. He and I were in high school together. We were like the first, you know, like, we're gonna start a band. And then he moved, and that kind of left, you know, he moved to Kansas City from Florida, so it made me, you know, I was floating around. But probably EBS. They have one 7-inch called Cosmetic Society. It's floating around on YouTube and random copies here and there and Discogs. They were blazing fast. First blast beats I ever heard from them. Probably them. As far as Tampa bands or anything like that, I love Morbid Angel. You know, like, as far as metal bands, they're my favorite metal band of all time.
Oh wow.
You know, not everything has been gold, but but they have more, you know, classics than non-classics. I'll say. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I like all eras, but I like the second. I like the Steve Tucker. Formula's "Fatal to the Flesh" is my favorite metal record of all time.
Wow. I'm gonna have to give that a spin. I haven't listened to that in a long time.
Incredible. That was Trey was in his Kabbalah mode. I think he wrote all the lyrics and shit. It sounds like Yoda. I mean, he's just
gotcha.
It's really wild shit. But the playing on it is really crazy. I think it's the one record they didn't use a click track on at all. It's like, and so Pete is, you know, at that time was Superhuman, the drummer, and so man, it's just I don't know. As far as that kind of, as far as like metal and things and bands, I would say local band. Morbid Angel is my favorite band. But as far as the most influential, probably the EBS guys when I was a kid. because I probably would have never had a chance to play a drum kit or touch guitar.
Yeah,
if it weren't for
that's crazy. They just left all their shit and your kid in a candy store for a summer.
Yeah, it was great. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's rad. That's rad.
Yeah, so hear that people have musicians come to your house, have them hang out around in and around your
children.
Around your children. Holy shit.
Not in.
Did I just pass my QAnon admission test or
That's how we stay young, bro.
Yeah.
Just expose them to art.
I need that
artists.
adrenochrome.
Yeah, adrenochrome.
Illuminati.
Don't get me started,
dude. Me neither. I'm in Florida. It's alternate reality, man. Yeah.
I'm not even surrounded by it, but I seek out. I punish myself because I think it's important to never forget. You know what I mean? And this is not going away. So if we just go like, oh, that's done. Good. Whew. It's gonna come back harder than the second time. It's gonna be even uglier.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, it was really great to meet you, and I now for almost a year have been saying, and someday, when folks are back on the road and playing shows, maybe we'll get to meet in person. I was really hopeful that would be this fall. Hope is fading.
I think Delta's. I'm curious of all the plans people have made for 2022. What's going to transpire? I'm not sure.
And then there's just another alternate reality where people are just doing it. So it's like,
sure. Oh yeah, I live in Florida, bro. Yeah, people honestly at the height of it here, people act like the shit didn't exist. I mean, it's
so crazy. Bars
didn't close down. I mean, I think our local bars here closed down when shit really hit the fan into April. I think they were closed for little over 6 weeks.
Oh,
and
wow.
as soon as the state lifted any restrictions, people were like, fucking let's go. And I mean, it's I wasn't in it, but it's
go Florida.
Go Florida.
So it's what we always say. Hey,
Seminoles.
go very much parts of California too. We're not above it.
Yeah.
California has its pockets. Yeah, it's
Orange County, the free state of Jefferson. That's a fascinating story if you ever want to go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Read up on the free state of Jefferson. That's all of Northern California, Oregon, and
very northern
part of Washington. Oh no, you get into it in Shasta, and you're still hours away from the border. Yeah. Fucking, but yeah, that's we have our fun.
So you said that you recently sent Rick some tracks to work on.
I haven't yet. Now, a lot of times, right now, I'm trying to just put everything down to a click track. All the riffs are there, everything's there, the general arrangements. But I'm my worst critic. Like I'm incredibly difficult with my own. From the point. So when I send it to him, it has to be not 100%, on my end, but just like. I feel this is it. Working with Rick and Eric both is really great because I can. A lot of times I'll have like a secondary idea to something, like a version A and a version B, but they're really close, or something. And I'll be like, I definitely will send Rick, just even a voice memo. I'm like, yo, which one? I'll send you version A, version B, and normally he, if I'm undecided, he'll. He has a reason that he'll pick, and I'm like, okay, I'm running with that, and then it opens up the gate to the whole thing. I'm a really undisciplined guitar player and a writer. I've never really studied, or in theory, I don't know any of that. And so sitting down, man, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I can go 6 months without a single idea, and then I can go 2 weeks where it seems everything's just pouring out in a way that, and I tend to remember it all. And so I definitely am trying to send here in the near future. Everything's there, just arrangements and such.
So the new House of Lightning this year?
At some point.
22?
I don't know, man. I'm still, like I said, with the health thing, I'm still kind of in the middle of that. So traveling, I haven't driven in a few years either. So I was, vertigo and just it's
we need to talk.
It's pretty inundating. It was. I'm functional now, but I couldn't have had this conversation probably 3 years ago. I would have been too tired or worn out. Yeah, it was a whole physical thing, and they still don't really know. It seems it's autoimmune in nature of some sort. Like it's not lupus, We
Yeah,
know that,
it's not,
you know. But,
thank you, Dr. House.
Yeah.
yeah, for real. Yeah. So who knows? There's been some stuff that's starting to peel back. I had surgery for some. Yeah, man, just a lot going on in the last.
Yeah.
I could. Yeah, that could be a whole other 2-hour conversation.
Yeah,
So.
which I'm sure makes the pandemic and your feelings about it very, very crystal clear.
Oh, it's very
because-
real. Yeah. The isolation hasn't been a big deal because I was pretty isolated for 3 years prior to that too.
Yeah.
So
but the like,
yes.
hey guys, I'm the one, like, this is the reason why.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not definitive on that, but I've had a hospital trip or two, and and I've been forced air, and so no, I'm not about that.
You're not about it.
yeah, and I always took care of myself. I'm a non-smoker. I rode a BMX bike up until whatever started going on. I was on the bike 20 miles every day. It really contributed to me being in shape for drums. I felt pretty indestructible up to a certain point. And so,
well, I'm glad you're figuring
Still
it out and starting to improve.
Yeah.
And look forward to more
I just
music.
I just want to get back out in the streets, man. Rock and roll. Really, that's the deal.
Anything else you want to share? People should check out, or
no.
Go to the house. Go to the House of Lightning Bandcamp.
We have a Bandcamp. Dove has a Bandcamp. Wall of Dove .bandcamp, whatever. And House of Lightning has a Bandcamp. All that stuff's on streaming platforms. Every so often we drop some kind of merch through those channels. And
nice.
man, everybody stay safe. And
absolutely, yeah. It was a happy accident hearing House of Lightning, and then leading to this. So it's been great to meet you.
Yes.
Have a great rest of your night. Sounds like you still have some night to go.
Yes,
I'll stay up for a while, I'm sure. So, anytime. Yeah, I'm just a phone call away. So, all right.
Nice.
You guys be safe.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Henry.
Have a great remainder of your week.
You too.
Woo! Damn, what a good guy.
Yeah, seriously, that was a great conversation.
I'm waiting for our first just like asshole. We're like 20 minutes in. We're like, you know what? Nah.
No assholes yet. I know. I guess we just know how to pick them.
Do we?
I don't know.
Or is there something about it? I mean, I
think it's just this genre.
But is it even a genre? I mean, I guess Flor is part of it. It's heavy, but whatever.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff is. I don't know.
Underground heavy music.
Trying to figure it out. We're just not getting these like traditional alpha testosterone fueled like fucking.
I think it's because they all Jarl.
Yeah, probably.
We're not. Jarl comes
I mean,
from having excess testosterone stuck in your throat.
Let's be clear. We are selecting the guests, so
this is true.
We are involved in the process.
This is true. Yeah.
Even in the selections, but no, in that one song, man. I read those lyrics, and I got some Texas libertarian. I got my machine gun, and I'm a self-made man. And I'm
was that in the lyrics?
Oh yeah.
I didn't see that.
It was all about it. So.
Oh, dang.
Not for me.
That was
definitely, hopefully for somebody.
It feels good to just say, you know what?
Not for me. Yep.
Yep.
All right. Well, my brain is oozing jelly.
Oozy.
I think you're probably in about the same boat.
I'm a little oozy. I need to go finish writing my performance review.
Oh, Mr. Big.
I can't believe you make me write a performance review for this show. This is ridiculous.
I know. Should we fire
do
JD?
a little 6-month check-in? Yeah.
6 months. We're coming up on a year.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is fucking crazy.
Jeez, we're gonna have to have a party.
We'll just
celebrate.
We just got to go hang out with Susie and record an episode in person.
Exactly.
All right, everybody. Well,
thank you.
Subscribe, write a review. Like we said, I haven't checked our Apple reviews since the last time, but I threw up a little challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I didn't throw up a challenge. I just said
it was a while ago.
Give us a list of bands that you want us to listen to in your Bandcamp review. Give us your 5 stars and then give us a list of bands. And I'll remember to check on the Apple Podcast. And I'll go ahead and check that out and see if there's anything new.
Yes, please.
We did make a new batch of hot sauce, motherfuckers.
Ooh, hot sauce coming soon.
It's good, fresh California peaches at the height of being ripe and shit.
Being ripeness.
The first harvest of peppers from my garden.
Pineapple from Hawaii.
Straight from Hawaii.
Pluots from down the road.
Yeah, no, it's
peppers from your own damn garden.
Yes, it is. It's some tasty
special
shit.
Sauce.
It is. And this time we made enough to produce about, what did I say, 30 bottles?
Oh, is that what I thought you said 60.
No.
I don't know. We're going to produce some bottles. That's
5,
what we're gonna do.
And so there will be some bottles up for grabs
Mm-hmm.
in various ways for listeners of the show.
Hermetically sealed.
JD's working on a label specifically for this sauce.
I just submitted them today.
Oh, I haven't even seen it. He's surprising me.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
All right, everybody.
Well, this was the latest episode of
Blynd Submyshynz.
Ass suck.
And we
out.
Thanks for joining us for another week of Blynd Submyshynz. See episode description for links to all artists discussed in this episode, and visit their sites to support them directly by buying music and merch. Share links to the podcast or YouTube videos with your friends, especially if they're in bands. Bands, if you want us to listen to your music on a future episode, please submit one song to blyndsub@gmail.com. That is blyndsub, BLYNDSUB @gmail.com. Bandcamp links preferred, but not required. Find us on social media at Blynd Submyshynz. Full video episodes are available on our YouTube. Remember, we go in blind, so you don't have to. Blynd Submyshynz.